Chapter 40, The Blind Date with Sister C. Big White, do you doubt me as well?
The phone connected quickly, and Qin Feng spoke.
Fengzi, I absolutely believe you're innocent.
Back in college, I could see that Chen Jiyun was nothing but a seductive and cheap woman.
Fengzi, if I speak ill of her like this, you won't hit me, will you?
Chen Pengfei sat in front of a computer, watching a Japanese action film, one hand holding a phone, the other holding tissues, his fat face squinting into a thin line. Standing at 6 feet tall, weighing 200 pounds, with a broad back that provided great reassurance, he was affectionately called Big White by his classmates. But so far, he hadn't had a girlfriend, he could only resolve his physiological needs by watching films, a real otaku. Yet, don't underestimate him, he was a true computer hacker. If he wished, he could easily breach a bank's security system in minutes. During college, he even held his own against top hackers abroad. As he put it, what need had girls for computers? His E-drive was filled with countless girls, cute and charming, mature and elegant, queenly, uniformed, pure, you name it. With just a click of the mouse, they would appear much more convenient than real people. I've already broken up with Chen Jiyun.
You can call her whatever you want.
You're quite popular in class. Help me organize a class reunion, I want everyone to know the true face of that despicable woman, Qin Feng said fiercely.
No need for that trouble. Next month is the centennial celebration of Zhongbei University.
Zhang Tao's grandson has already posted the news in the group and notified everyone. All the classmates will attend that day, Chen Pengfei said as he wiped himself clean with tissues and then glanced at his phone, before tossing it regretfully into the trash. He clicked the mouse and paused the screen.
What's the point of continuing when 1 billion descendants were thrown away? Zhongbei University's centennial celebration? Why wasn't I informed?
Qin Feng asked, maybe it's because of Chen Jiyun's matter.
They think your character is too bad, so Zhang Tao didn't inform you, Chen Pengfei speculated. Damn, I still have to go. Oh, by the way, help me gather some information on Chen Jiyun's ex-boyfriends.
I'll need it, Qin Feng said.
Isn't that a bit inappropriate? Chen Pengfei hesitated. Big White, are you still my brother? Don't you want real dolls?
Once this is done, I'll buy you a houseful, Chen Pengfei suddenly perked up.
Fengzi, just wait, I'll make sure to gather the information for you. That's more like it. After attending the centennial celebration, I'll introduce you to a few girls.
Playing with toys all the time isn't good for your health, Qin Feng chuckled before hanging up and then drifted off to sleep. The next day, when Qin Feng woke up, Zhou Shuiwei had already gone to school. She had left some bread and milk on the table. Qin Feng smiled, it felt nice to have someone making breakfast for him. As he ate, his gaze fell on the fish tank.
The densely packed fish inside made him feel a bit annoyed.
What was once a pleasant pastime of watching fish had been turned into a case of ichthyophobia by Sister Lu. Such a waste of such a beautiful fish tank. After finishing his meal, Qin Feng didn't go out but stayed home to practice.
Gu Yuan's death had made him realize his vulnerability. He understood he wasn't invincible.
Even he would fall to bullets if surrounded by machine guns. Only when he reached the true element realm, emitted his true element, and formed his true energy, would he have a chance to withstand bullets.
That night, you didn't refuse me. That night, I hurt you. At 5 p.m, the phone rang, and it was Zhou Shuiwei calling. Qin Feng immediately answered. Xiaofeng, I have a blind date today. Are you still able to make it? Of course, I'll come right away. Where are you?
I'll be there in no time, Qin Feng replied.
Huarong Street, Time Walk Cafe.
Hurry up, Zhou Shuiwei said before hanging up. Qin Feng sprang up from the ground, eschewing his Santana this time, deeming it too slow. Instead, he opted for the sports car gifted to him by Shenru Wabing. Amidst the roar of a beast, the Porsche 918 shot forward like an untamed stallion. However, it was rush hour, and when Qin Feng finally drove into the bustling downtown area, he was immediately caught in a standstill.
Damn it! Qin Feng slammed on the horn.
The driver in front stuck his head out and shouted back, "Buddy, stop honking, we're completely jammed."
Helpless, Qin Feng remembered that Zhongbei University wasn't far from Huarong Street. He parked his car at the school gate. Turning on his indicator, he made a right turn and headed to the entrance of Zhongbei University.
Finding a parking spot, he hurriedly parked and made his way towards Huarong Street Time Walk Cafe. Zhou Shuiwei sat nervously in her chair, absent-mindedly stirring her coffee with a spoon. This was her first blind date, and she had no idea what to say. Opposite her sat a man in a suit, combed with a side part, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. He was rather handsome, wearing a Vacheron Constantin watch on his wrist, with a warm smile on his face, the epitome of success.
Miss Shou, let me introduce myself first. I'm Yuan Junkai, a graduate of Oxford University.
During my time in college, I received all the scholarships available. After graduation, numerous top international companies offered me positions, some even with a salary of tens of millions of dollars annually. However, I declined them all because my roots are here. So, I chose to return to start my own business. Currently, I've partnered with a friend to open a real estate company, and our projects are already on the market. I'm fortunate to have returned to China, otherwise, I would never have had the chance to meet such a beautiful girl like Miss Shou. Yuan Junkai wore a gentle smile that made it difficult for one to harbor any ill feelings towards him. Seeing that Yuan had finished introducing himself and she hadn't spoken, Zhou Shuawei felt a bit impolite. She said, "Aunt Wang probably told you about my situation, just an ordinary teacher."
Hee, Miss Zhou is being too modest.
While others may not know, I know that you're a top student, and not only that, you've made significant contributions to the country's technological advancement, enjoying subsidies from the Academy of Sciences. Speaking of which, I'm also a top student, otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to study at Oxford. Just this alone gives us plenty of topics to discuss.
Sometimes, when two people have vastly different cultural backgrounds, it's not always pleasant to be together. But we don't have such troubles between us.
Miss Zhou has been single for so many years, presumably because she's been waiting to meet someone like you, Yuan Junkai said lightly, taking a sip of his coffee. Seeing Zhou Shuawei still keeping her head low, Yuan's gaze became somewhat unabashed as he looked her over, especially at her ample assets, which caught his special attention.
This woman was simply exquisite.
If he could get her to sleep beside her every night, just the thought made him excited to the point of trembling. He believed with his looks, wealth, eloquence, and knowledge, he would surely succeed in winning over this inexperienced beauty.
Miss Zhou, if you don't mind, I can take you to see the property I've developed. If you like any, I'll just give it to you. He had said everything he needed to. Now was the time to display his wealth. No need. She already has the best villa in the city.
She doesn't need anyone else to give her more, Qin Feng said, stepping forward.
Chapter 41, I am her boyfriend. Xiao Feng.
Seeing Qin Feng enter, Zhou Shuawei's face lit up with joy as if she had found her backbone. Qin Feng smiled faintly, approached Zhou Shuawei, gently stroked her hair, and then sat down with her. This gesture was quite intimate, causing Zhou Shuawei to blush involuntarily. She hadn't expected Qin Feng to do this in front of Yuan Junkai. Yuan Junsai's eyes flashed with a hint of displeasure, but he quickly concealed it and smiled.
Shuawei, aren't you going to introduce me? Who is this?
To assert his own authority, he had changed his address. Previously calling her Miss Shou, he now directly called her Shuawei.
Zhou Shuawei frowned but didn't say much.
Qin Feng, however, was unhappy.
Why are you being so intimate? Don't you know she has a boyfriend? You can leave now. Trying to steal his thunder? Not even the emperor himself could succeed. Zhou Shuawei was his first target, as recommended by Sister Lu. A boyfriend?
Yuan Junkai looked surprised, pointing at Qin Feng.
You? Then he burst into laughter, looking at Zhou Shuawei. Shuawei, are you joking with me?
Your parents never mentioned you having a boyfriend, and with your standards, it's impossible for you to be interested in him.
Bang!
Qin Feng slammed the table, furious.
What do you mean? Am I not good enough for Wei Wei? Yuan Junsai's mouth twitched.
He called her Shuawei, but this kid called her Wei Wei. They were clearly at odds. Zhou Shuawei was also displeased, grabbing Qin Feng's hand. He is my boyfriend. But when she said the word boyfriend, she seemed visibly nervous, her voice lowering. If her elder sisters found out, she wasn't sure how they would reprimand her. As a top student, Yuan Junkai had a keen ability to observe others' words and expressions.
He instantly noticed Zhou Shuawei's nervousness and understood. Friend, there's no need to pretend anymore. You're obviously just a shield that Shuawei brought here.
You can block others, but not me.
Because our families have already agreed on the marriage, your theatrics are meaningless. Tell me, how much did Shuawei promise to pay you? I'll double it, and you can leave.
Yuan Juansai's tone was calm, but there was an air of superiority in his words.
You're talking nonsense. When did I agree to marry you? Today is our first meeting, Zhou Shuawei retorted. Fine, even if we haven't agreed, we're currently on a blind date. You brought him here to pretend to be your boyfriend. If your parents find out, what would they think?
Let me tell you the truth, your parents highly regard me and have already recognized me as their son-in-law.
As long as you nod, we can get married immediately.
He is my boyfriend.
You can leave.
We're impossible, Zhou Shuawei's brow furrowed, feeling repelled by Yuan Juansai's aggressive words. Shuawei, I know you're focused on research and studies, your thoughts are very pure.
Don't be deceived. Look at this guy, dressed in cheap clothes, wearing a ring that costs 3 for $10. Do you think he can bring you happiness?
Then he looked at Qin Feng and said indifferently, Kid, know thyself.
Do you know what Xu Wei does? She's a national scientific talent, a doctoral supervisor at Zhongbei University. How can someone like you climb up to her level? Do you even deserve to be her boyfriend? Can you afford to come to a high-end cafe like this? I'm afraid you can't even afford a cup of coffee. I've seen many scumbags like you, just wanting to be a gigolo and live off others. But you've picked the wrong target today. I'll give you a 50,000 check, get lost, and don't bother us again. If you keep bothering Shuawei, don't blame me for being rude to you. Yuan Junkai didn't conceal his disdain for Qin Feng.
At a glance, he could tell that Qin Feng didn't even have $100 altogether. Even the money in his underwear was several times more than Qin Feng's total worth.
What qualifications did he have to compare with him?
Damn it, I've given you face. Qin Feng's temper flared up. He grabbed Yuan Juansai's collar and threw him to the ground. He wouldn't be polite to such a pretentious scum.
How dare you hit someone?
Yuan Junkai stood up from the ground, his face filled with anger. Pointing at Qin Feng, he said to Zhou Shuawei, Shuawei, you saw it yourself.
He's so rude, he's practically a thug. How could you know someone like him? But it's okay, I can help you get rid of him. With that, he shouted, Waiter, come here. A waiter immediately ran over, bowing, Sir, how may I assist you? Yuan Junkai took out a card and said, I'm a premium member here. This guy just hit me. Quickly kick him out. How could you let someone like him in? After checking Yuan Juansai's card, the waiter turned to Qin Feng and asked, Sir, did you hit him just now? I barely touched him. If he doesn't leave, I'll make sure he can't be a man.
Qin Feng looked disdainfully at Yuan Junkai, waving his fist, which scared him into trembling and hiding behind the waiter. As an elite student, Yuan Junkai had only interacted with people of status and had never encountered someone as uncouth as Qin Feng, who resorted to violence over trivial matters. The waiter's expression turned grim. Sir, Mr. Yuan is a valued patron of our cafe. By assaulting him, you've violated our rules. Please leave and don't disturb Mr. Yuan. What if I refuse? Then I'll have to call security. Go ahead, call your security and your manager. I want to see who dares to make me leave today. With that, Qin Feng pushed aside the waiter and kicked Yuan Junkai to the ground again. Daring to call me a gigolo, a freeloader. Absolutely asking for trouble. Seeing Qin Feng still daring to hit someone in front of him, the waiter immediately took out a walkie-talkie to call security and inform the manager. A premium member had been assaulted, only the manager could handle this soon. 5 tall security guards wielding batons menacingly surrounded Qin Feng. Then, a middle-aged man in a work uniform also approached. In a deep voice, he said, I'm the manager here, Wang Biao. What's going on? Yuan Junkai felt as if he had found a savior and immediately shouted, Manager Wang, I'm a premium member here. This guy actually hit me. The waiter saw it too. Aren't you going to avenge me? Wang Biao frowned. Who do you think I am, your father? Avenge you? But since he was a premium member, he couldn't afford to offend him. He could only say to Qin Feng, Sir, please leave. You're prohibited from entering this cafe in the future. Prohibited from entering? Who gave you the right? With that, he tossed a black-bordered card over. Wang Biao took the black-bordered card and glanced at it. His expression immediately changed. This was the Zhongbei Supreme VIP card, of which there were only 50 in the whole city. All the holders were influential figures.
Judging from the young man's attire, he didn't seem wealthy. Even if he was low-key, Wang Biao knew that even the most low-key wealthy individuals wouldn't wear shirts that cost less than 10 yuan. Wealthy people were low-key in their actions, not in lowering their living standards. After looking at the card and seeing the name Su Qingying, his heart skipped a beat. The heiress of the Qianxi group. How could her VIP card be in this young man's hands? Wang Biao scrutinized Qin Feng again and realized that besides his cheap clothes, he lacked any charm or presence. Could he be a gigolo from a nightclub? Maybe Miss Su was feeling lonely and hired a gigolo, and this young man took advantage of her fatigue to steal her card? Wang Biao started to imagine scenarios. Then he shook his head. No, Miss Su, someone of such status, wouldn't hire a gigolo. Maybe this young man was being kept by Miss Su as a toy boy. That's the only explanation. After all, a handsome guy like him would be wasting his looks if he didn't become a toy boy. Looking at Zhou Shuawei again, Wang Biao's eyes sparkled with wisdom. He felt he had uncovered the truth. This young man must have been unsatisfied after being kept by Su Qingying and stole her card. Then he came here to impress this beautiful girl, hoping to show off in front of her, win her favor, and ultimately get her. He's a scumbag. If I were kept by Miss Su, I would be loyal and faithful. This matter must be reported to Miss Su to let her know that handsome men aren't reliable, and only someone like me, honest Wang, can give her a loyal embrace. Surround him for me. In just a minute, Wang Biao, who had imagined so much, ordered the 5 security guards to encircle Qin Feng. He didn't ask them to act yet. After all, this was a toy boy kept by Miss Su. Wait for Miss Su to arrive. If she wanted him beaten, Wang Biao would give him a good lesson. Qin Feng was a bit dumbfounded. He had even revealed the Supreme VIP card, hoping to show off, but instead, he got surrounded. Could it be that the card Su San gave him was fake? Impossible, Su San wouldn't lie to him. Zhou Shuawei was also confused. She knew the card was given to Qin Feng by Su Qingying. Why wasn't it effective? Could this cafe not be owned by one of Jiangbei's top 10 tycoons? Ah, kid, you're so funny. You think you can be respected just by showing a card like me? Truly foolish. Shuawei, did you see that? Only I am your perfect boyfriend. Yuan Junkai was initially anxious when Qin Feng threw out the card because it was so exquisitely made, with diamonds embedded on it. He had never seen a card with diamonds before and thought he had hit a brick wall. But unexpectedly, he was surrounded by the manager without mercy. Now, let's see how this kid dares to show off in front of him, trying to steal his girl. It's like he's asking for death. Wang Biao, on the other hand, went to the side and called the number on the card. Is this Miss Su? Hello, I'm Wang, the manager of Time Walk Cafe. I've caught a toy boy who stole your Supreme VIP card. Would you like to come and have a look? On the other end of the phone, Su Qingying was stunned. A toy boy who stole her card? Didn't she give the card to Qin Feng herself? Could he have lost it? She had urgent matters to attend to and couldn't leave at the moment, so she said to Wang Biao, "Take a picture of that person and send it to me." Wang Biao immediately took a sneaky picture and sent it over. Upon seeing it, Su Qingying was instantly furious. How could her brother be treated as a thief and surrounded by security guards? This was outrageous. She immediately hung up on Wang Biao and called the cafe's owner. Hey, Mr. Fu, why are you calling me all of a sudden? On the other end of the phone, the voice of cafe owner Fu Bo sounded. He was the least wealthy among Jiangbei's top 10 tycoons and had some business cooperation with Qianxi Jewelry, ranked third. Seeing that it was Su Qingying on the phone, he immediately answered. Mr. Fu, my brother Qin Feng was using my card at your cafe. Your manager not only accused him of theft but also had security surround him. Please handle this matter. If it's not resolved properly, we may need to reconsider our cooperation. After saying this, Su Qingying hung up the phone without giving Fu Bo a chance to respond. Fu Bo was stunned for a moment, then a wave of anger rushed over him. Damn Wang Biao, causing trouble for him again. After being a manager for so many years, was he still so blind that he dared to accuse Su Qingying's brother of theft? He immediately got up from the sofa and stormed downstairs. On the other side, Wang Biao saw Su Qingying look at the photo and then hang up, feeling a bit confused. What's going on? Is she coming or not? Say something. If she doesn't come, how can I continue to be hospitable?
Just as he was wondering whether to have the security tie up Qin Feng, he saw his boss rushing downstairs and kicking him aside with one foot, cursing, "You son of a b***tch, who gave you the courage to treat guests like this?" Then he yelled at the security guards, "Get out of here. Just hold on a minute." At that moment, Yuan Junkai jumped out and looked at Fu Bo, saying, "Who the hell are you?"
Manager 1 was solving a problem for me. How dare you dismiss the security guards? Don't you know I'm a high-level member here?
Then he pointed at Qin Feng and said, "This guy hit me in the cafe."
Manager Wang's actions satisfied me.
I wasn't going to blame the cafe anymore, but your behavior pisses me off.
I'm going to complain and call your boss here.
Complain your ****. Fubo slapped Yuan Junkai in the face, then grabbed the high-level membership card from him and snapped it in half. He then shouted, "Security, throw this guy out and put him on the blacklist.
He's not allowed to step into the cafe ever again."
The 5 security guards immediately lifted Yuan Junkai and threw him out. Fubo then looked at Qin Feng with a smile on his face.
"You're Mr. Qin, right? I'm really sorry for this big misunderstanding. Your expenses here are all on the house. I won't disturb you anymore."
After saying that, he returned the Supreme VIP card to Qin Feng.
The onlookers were shocked. Isn't that Mr. Fu? Why is he being so polite to that guy? Yeah, he must be some rich kid. Rich people are really something. They dress like they just came from a flea market. Poor Glasses got tricked. I think the Glasses deserved it. He's too damn arrogant. People like him need to be taught a lesson. Amidst the murmurs of the crowd, Qin Feng and Zhou Shuawei also decided it was time to leave the cave. Chapter 43, The Art of Human Form. You are so toxic, so toxic, so toxic, whoa. Just as she stepped out of the cafe, the ringtone of Zhou Shuawei's phone echoed. Glancing at the caller ID, she saw it was her mother calling and moved to the side to answer. A minute later, with a hint of regret, she said to Qin Feng, "My mom wants me to come home for a bit. You go ahead by yourself." "Do you want me to accompany you?" Qin Feng asked. "No need, I can handle it myself. When I really need you, I'll call you," Zhou Shuawei replied with a smile. "Alright then, drive safely on your own," Qin Feng said without insistence, escorting Zhou Shuawei to her Audi sports car and watching her drive away. After grabbing a quick bite somewhere, Qin Feng made his way towards Jiangbei University, his mood still quite good after thwarting his fourth sister's blind date. As he neared the entrance of Jiangbei University, he suddenly halted in his steps. In front of his Porsche 918 supercar were 3 young and beautiful girls. The girl in the middle was sitting on the hood, half-turned, one hand resting beside her, the other stroking her hair in a bewitching manner. On the left, another girl stood with her hand on her hip, the other hand pressed against the hood, her eyes half-closed, equally captivating. The girl on the right was biting her red lip, both hands propped on the hood, her heels towering 7 centimeters, one foot on the ground, the other against the wheel, drawing frequent glances from passers-by. In front of the 3 girls were 2 young men with cameras, busily taking photos of them as they changed poses energetically. The 3 girls changed their poses frequently, enthusiastically posing for the pictures. There were quite a few onlookers around, mostly drawn to the 3 girls, as they were undeniably attractive, dressed in low-cut, ultra-short skirts, each pose brimming with allure. Qin Feng shook his head. This was probably meant for flaunting on social media. Near Jiangbei University, there weren't many luxury cars, and they happened to fixate on his. Qin Feng didn't particularly resent this behavior, but he didn't condone it either. Originally, he thought to wait until they finished before driving away, but he noticed their actions becoming increasingly audacious, almost all of them sitting on the hood. This was unacceptable. This car was a gift from his eldest sister, and Qin Feng cherished it greatly. He wouldn't have driven it today if he wasn't in a hurry, he would have driven his Santana instead. Although the car was bought to be driven, Qin Feng, who had long been accustomed to frugality, couldn't adapt immediately. Like how he often forgot that he was the CEO of a company, worth hundreds of millions, capable of wearing several sets of fine clothes, yet still opted for cheap street market goods. Some habits ran deep and couldn't be changed overnight. "You 3, get off my car. What are you staring at? I'm talking to you, the 3 of you. Your clothes can't even cover your buttocks, get off the car quickly," Qin Feng said as he squeezed out of the crowd and walked towards them. "Who the hell are you?" One of the photographers, feeling a bit annoyed, retorted, "What do you mean their clothes can't even cover their buttocks? That's too vulgar. This is called sexy, it's called human art. Haven't you seen those car models wearing even more revealing outfits?
It should be the car guards around here. Regardless, today's encounter with a supercar is rare, so take several photos.
This time, it will surely boost Nana and her friends' click-through rate. Another young man glanced at Chin Fong and casually remarked. Chin Fong couldn't help but laugh. He couldn't believe someone thought he was a car guard around here. Have you ever seen such a handsome car guard? Moreover, car guards are usually elderly folks or middle-aged men and women. How could young people possibly do such a job? Seeing 3 young women preparing to climb up, especially the one wearing short clothes, Chin Fong felt a bit embarrassed. He shouted, "Get down, that's my car." The 3 young women were startled by Chin Feng's loud shout, stopped their actions, and turned to look at Chin Fong with angry expressions, mocking, "Where did this bumpkin come from? How dare he claim this car is his? Yeah, look at how he's dressed, he really dares to say that. It's already dark outside, yet he's daydreaming." Tiangu said he's just a car guard, probably afraid of the owner causing trouble for him. Among the crowd of onlookers, many men began to join in the commotion. "Kid, stop causing trouble, let them climb, I haven't seen enough of their backsides yet." "Yeah, mind your own business, hurry up and move aside, don't delay us from looking at the beauties." "Is this kid crazy? People are just taking photos peacefully, and he's causing trouble." Chin Feng's face twitched. "Damn it, this is my car. They climb on it, of course, you don't care. Look at them wearing those 7-centimeter heels, one slight mistake and they could scratch the car. He just got it back from repairs, this is the first time he's driving it again. He doesn't want to send it for repairs again." Chin Fong had already reached the front of the car by now. 2 men taking photos frowned. They, both towering at 6 feet, stood in front of Chin Fong like 2 walls, blocking him. "Kid, I know you're afraid the owner will trouble you. Don't worry, we just need one last set of photos, the 3 of them sitting on the hood, and then we'll leave." "Is that okay?" The young man referred to as Tiangu said as he took out 10 yuan from his pocket and handed it over. "Compensation for an hour of parking for you, don't bother us." Chin Fong couldn't be bothered to waste any more words with these 2. 10 yuan? Are you kidding me? Ah. No, even if you give me 100, 1,000, or 10,000, you're not allowed to take photos. He reached out, and the 2 men became unsteady, staggering to the sides, allowing Chin Fong to pass. Chin Fong then took out the car key and pressed it. Beep beep. The headlights of the car lit up. The whole scene fell silent. Everyone was stunned. This multi-million-dollar luxury car actually belonged to this kid in street stall clothes. Are today's millionaires also low-key? Even if he's a stealthy millionaire, isn't he too stealthy? Except for his handsome face, who the hell would know he's a car owner in the crowd? The 3 young women were also dumbfounded, then blushed and stepped aside from the front of the car. Tiangu, who was about to come forward to argue with Chin Fong, also froze in place. There was only one thought in his mind, this car really belongs to him. Chin Fong opened the car door, got in, and prepared to leave. Suddenly someone knocked on his car window. He opened it halfway and saw 3 young women standing outside, bending over, their deep cleavage exposed in front of Chin Fong. "Hey handsome, can we take a ride in your car for a spin?" The most beautiful one among them, nicknamed Nana, coquettishly asked. It must be admitted that Nana is very attractive to men, with protruding front and back, S-curve, and a face that scores around 9. But Chin Fong was not interested in her at all his thoughts were on Zhou Shuawei. Now he politely smiled at Nana and replied, "Sorry, my car doesn't take passengers who've had their buttocks seen by so many men." Nana. Bing bing. Wrong. Taking advantage of the moment when the 3 women were stunned, Chin Fong started the sports car and drove away. Chapter 44, Uncle turns into a hunk. Back at the villa, Chin Fong practiced for a while and then went to bed to rest. He had already opened up 6 of the 12 main meridians, the Han Taiyin Lung Meridian, Han Shaoyin Heart Meridian, Han Juyin Pericardium Meridian, Han Yangming Large Intestine Meridian, Han Xiaoyang Triple Burner Meridian, and Han Taiyang Small Intestine Meridian. When his true qi circulated within these 6 meridians, it could be stimulated and formed sword qi, effective within a range of 10 meters, which satisfied Chin Fong greatly. After some time, when he entered the condensing fluid stage, he would be able to dominate the underground world of Jiangbei. Thinking of this, Chin Fong couldn't contain his excitement. He couldn't wait to massage Sister Lu's body, which was even better than a supermodel's. "That night, you didn't refuse me. That night, I hurt you. At 7 o'clock in the morning, Qin Feng's phone rang. In a daze, he picked it up and heard Yang Wei's voice. "Boss, today is the leader of the Sun Gang's birthday. We're all waiting for you."
Upon hearing this, Qin Feng suddenly woke up completely.
If it wasn't for Yang Wei's reminder, he would have forgotten about this.
After freshening up, he drove his Santana to the Shadow Flow Company.
28 cadres were already waiting in the conference room.
After seeing Qin Feng, they all bowed in unison. "Boss, good morning." Qin Feng nodded in satisfaction.
The momentum was pretty good. After sitting down in the main seat, he asked, "Do we have a specific plan?" Yang Wei immediately said, "This time's birthday celebration is much larger than before. It's said that Zhao Ritian wants to retire and let his son Zhao Zhetian take over."
Qin Feng smirked.
Were the names of this Zhao father and son so distinctive?
One is Ri Tian, and the other is Zha Tian.
How much hatred do they have with the heavens?
But Yang Wei continued, "Apart from the Shaking Earth Gang, the Deja Gang, the Cool and Swagger Gang, and our Shadowflow Gang, many small gangs from Jiangbei will also come. Even some big shots from places like Guangling, Shanyang, and Modu will attend."
Zhao Ritian's rule is that each gang can only send 5 people.
If there are more than this number, each extra person will incur an additional 100,000 yuan for drinks.
The birthday banquet will be held at Zhao Ritian's villa, which is heavily guarded. If you want to assassinate, there's a certain risk.
But I've already arranged it. It'll be you, me, Scarface, Heisey, Fonlauer, and Mabagua going in, and the rest of the brothers will provide support outside. Upon hearing this, Qin Feng signaled for Yang Wei to stop and asked, "Didn't you say only 5 people could go?"
"We have 6. Do we have to pay 100,000 for an extra person?"
Yang Wei replied, "Boss, old Ma wanted to experience the grand occasion and voluntarily paid 100,000, so I agreed." Qin Feng glanced at Ma Baoguo and thought to himself, "This old guy is quite rich." He tapped his finger on the conference table. Since Zhao Ritian wants to pass the position to his son, it's meaningless to assassinate him.
"Let's focus on Zhao Zhetian today." But Yang Wei said, "Boss, you're mistaken. That Zhao Zhetian may have a fierce name, but he's actually a coward. He doesn't even dare to kill a chicken. Although he's the nominal boss, he still listens to his old man for everything.
So, killing Zhao Ritian is the key to everything."
Qin Feng nodded and patted Yang Wei's shoulder. "You've done a thorough job."
Yang Wei's face immediately lit up with a smile. "It's nothing, just a small matter."
"Alright, let's all prepare according to old Yang's arrangement."
"The 5 of you come with me to the mall," Qin Feng said as he stood up.
Yang Wei and the others looked puzzled. Why go to the mall at this time? Shouldn't they go directly to Zhao Ritian's villa? But since it was the boss's order, they didn't dare to ask too much and followed Qin Feng to the mall on the first floor. Half an hour later, the 6 of them came out, instantly attracting the attention of passers-by. Many people even took out their phones to take photos and videos. Yang Wei and the others were completely transformed from head to toe. They were all dressed in Armani suits, looking exceptionally sharp. Even Ma Baoguo, who wasn't in great shape, felt like a different person after putting on the suit. With changed hairstyles, shiny leather shoes, and sunglasses on their faces, even the cadres of the Shadowflow gang hesitated to recognize them. After all, the difference in their appearance from before was too drastic. They had completely gone from greasy uncles to handsome hunks. The aura they exuded, their posture, were even more impressive than top male models, though their height was a disadvantage. Yang Wei and the others were all excited. When had they ever worn such expensive suits and sunglasses? From head to toe, inside and out, they had spent almost 100,000 yuan. The boss was really wealthy, not batting an eye while swiping his card. Qin Feng looked at their current appearance, nodded in satisfaction, and thought, "This is more like it. This is how the black and white society should look." As for himself, of course, he wouldn't dress like this. He still wore casual clothes so that others could easily distinguish between the boss and the underlings. After all, standing out from the crowd was the ability of a boss. Wearing the same black suits definitely marked one as an underling. "Let's go." Qin Feng waved his hand, and Yang Wei and the others each got into their respective cars and headed towards Zhao Ritian's villa. What a huge mansion! Yes, that's the name of the villa area where Zhao Ritian resides. The developers deliberately chose such a name to attract attention. It worked like a charm. Whenever someone mentioned what a huge mansion, many would automatically add the word villa afterwards. This name was even more deeply ingrained in people's minds than advertising flyers.
Zhao Ritian bought the largest and most central villa here, also known as the King of Mansions. In terms of area alone, it was no less than Qin Feng's villa in the middle of the lake. Outside the villa, there were 2 football field-sized lawns. Surrounding the lawns, there was a circle of 2-meter-high railings with high-voltage electricity running through them. Anyone trying to climb in would be shocked to a crisp. In addition, Zhao Ritian also kept more than a dozen extremely fierce large dogs, which were led by dedicated personnel and patrolled around the lawn every day. The villa was covered with surveillance cameras. Even a fly entering would be noticed. The security measures were extremely strict. At this moment, the lawn was filled with tables and chairs, with delicacies and fine wines placed on them. Early guests were already eating and drinking. Many female waitresses dressed as bunnies shuttled through the crowd, providing services. These people were all here to earn extra money from Zhao Ritian. There were students, models, and white-collar workers among them. The common characteristic of these bunny girls was their beauty and good figure. They were dressed very refreshingly, making many men tempted, but they restrained themselves. This was Zhao Ritian's territory, and they didn't dare to act recklessly. Soon, Qin Feng and the others also arrived at the front of the villa. After showing the invitation and paying the 100,000 yuan, they brought Yang Wei and the others inside. Chapter 45, Qin Feng's business card. As soon as they entered, they were stunned. When had they ever seen such a grand birthday party? Qin Feng didn't say anything. He had always lived at the bottom of society. Even though he was now worth billions, his vision still remained at its previous level. To put it plainly, he was a nouveau riche. As for Yang Wei and the others, although they were cadres of the Shadow Flow gang, they were essentially just small-time hooligans. They had gone from being young hooligans to middle-aged ones, living in a district and not making more than 1,000 yuan a day. Naturally, they hadn't seen much of the world either. Fortunately, the 5 of them were dressed in expensive suits and wore sunglasses, so no one noticed the way they looked at the delicious food: Australian lobsters, emperor crabs from Hong Kong, wild yellow croakers. Each item made their mouths water. Ma Baoguo couldn't help but wipe the corners of his mouth and kept swallowing saliva. "Mind your manners," Qin Feng whispered, "we're here to kill someone, not to eat. Look at yourselves, do you look like high-ranking members of the Shadow Flow gang?" Yang Wei immediately reminded him, "Boss, we're called the cool and stylish gang outside. Nobody knows us as the Shadow Flow gang." Then Yang Wei's expression became serious. "The other 3 major gangs are here too, boss, let me introduce you. Remember the website m.luoq.com. Qin Feng nodded. Knowing oneself and knowing one's enemy, 100 battles won, after all. Yang Wei nodded towards a man not far away. "Boss, do you see that guy over there with his hair dyed a dog poop color?" Qin Feng was taken aback. Dog poop color? What kind of new term was that? Following Yang Wei's gaze, he saw a man with half of his hair dyed yellow and the other half dyed brown, flirting with a bunny girl while holding a glass of wine. He's Chen Diaza, the leader of the Diaozha gang. He used to be a lay disciple of Shaolin and has mastered the iron head skill. He's extremely ruthless. Qin Feng was speechless. Was this name given by his parents or did he change it later? It was way too personalized. Wait a minute. Qin Feng suddenly felt like he had realized something. The leader of the Ritian gang was named Zhao Ritian, and the leader of the Diaozha gang was named Chen Diaza. Did their gang names all come from their own names? But Yang Wei continued, "The guy over there with a carp tattooed on each arm is Li Handy, the leader of the Handy gang. It's said that he has natural divine strength. He's nicknamed Hammerhead Monster because he smashes people's heads with his iron fists." Qin Feng twitched his mouth. He used to think he was bad at studying, but now he realized that these gang leaders were the ones who were really uneducated. It was terrifying. Hammerhead Monster as a nickname. Qin Feng was speechless. After Yang Wei introduced Li Handy, he looked around and finally pointed to a tall and skinny figure in the distance. "That skinny guy over there, as thin as a bamboo pole, is Sun Quangjui, the leader of the Quangjui gang. Don't be fooled by his thinness, he's quite muscular. He and old Ma are brothers. He has already mastered Tai Chi boxing and has cultivated true Chi. He leaves hidden injuries when he fights, and he's good at Mei Hua Zhuang." Qin Feng glanced at Yang Wei, suspecting that this guy used to be a comedian. His introduction was quite rhyming. Then he looked at Ma Baoguo and joked, "Old Ma, is he your older or younger brother?"
Ma Baoguo snorted proudly.
Of course, he's my younger brother. After I left the school, I founded the mixed Yuan Xingyi Tai Chi school on my own, while he just followed the traditional practice without any innovation.
I looked down on him. With that, he looked proud.
Xin Feng thought he was being a bit too arrogant. After all, the guy was just his little brother, not even his equal.
Xin Feng teased, so, he's no match for you, then?
If he doesn't have true chi, he's definitely no match for me. But even if he does, I won't fear him.
Ma Baoguo said stubbornly, thinking to himself that he couldn't show weakness in front of the boss. Scar and the others laughed. They knew Ma Baoguo was face-conscious, so they didn't expose him.
Xin Feng got to understand the other gangs. Indeed, the leaders of the gangs were all very distinctive. Not only were their names easy to remember, but so were their appearances.
One look and you'd never forget them.
Suddenly, he thought of something and asked, since these gangs are all named after their leaders, why isn't our gang?
A mysterious smile appeared on Yang Wei's face. Boss, don't worry.
To avoid standing out from the crowd, we've already announced to the public that our leader has finished closed-door cultivation and has returned to the world. With that, he reached into his pocket and took out a box of business cards, saying proudly, "These are the business cards I prepared for the boss a long time ago. I'll have Scar and the others distribute them later." Xin Feng took one and looked at it, his face suddenly becoming very colorful. On the front, it said leader of the cool and stylish gang, Xin Cool and Stylish. On the back, it read, with fists that strike in all directions, feet that kick the flow of the 8 seas, as strong as a bull, as fast as lightning, Xin Cool and Stylish will unite the north of the river.
With such an arrogant business card, they actually dared to distribute it. Weren't they afraid of getting beaten up? Xin Feng suddenly felt a headache coming on.
He felt like the Shadow Flow gang didn't have a single normal person.
Thinking of Sixth Sister's way of thinking, could it be that these people all learned from her? Alright, the main host hasn't appeared yet. You're free to move around for now. Gather here later. Xin Feng waved his hand wearily. He didn't want to see these idiots anymore.
He should have come alone if he had known earlier.
Yang Wei and the others were almost jumping with excitement.
They had been waiting for Xin Feng to say that, especially Ma Baoguo. He had paid 100,000 yuan to come in, he had to make sure he got his money's worth. The 5 of them rushed towards the seafood they had their eyes on like liberated prisoners.
Xin Feng really wanted to cover his face. What kind of weird cadres were these? Were they really that lacking in food?
It seemed that raising the quality of the cadres of the Shadow Flow gang needed to be put on the agenda. With the next dose of poison, he could wipe them all out. But he didn't just stand there idle.
He reached out and took.
Xin Feng didn't want to get too tangled up with her, so he just exchanged WeChat contacts with her, planning to block her later.
He took out his phone, let Nana scan the QR code,
and then said, "I have something to attend to today.
Let's chat another time." Nana nodded excitedly. After all, she was still working, so it wasn't appropriate to stand here and chat with Xin Feng for too long. Not long after, Zhao Ritian, surrounded by a group of bodyguards, walked out of the villa.
He had a beer belly and a face full of rough muscles, giving off the image of a gang leader. Behind him were 3 men, a young man and 2 middle-aged men. With Zhao Ritian's appearance, the entire lawn erupted into excitement. Chapter 46, Bathing in the Golden Cauldron. Gratitude to all who have come to celebrate Zhao's birthday. Unbeknownst to me, 50 cycles of seasons have passed. I am deeply thankful for everyone's esteem, which has allowed me, Zhao, to establish the current family legacy.
Today, apart from being my birthday, marks the day of my retirement from worldly affairs.
Henceforth, the reins of the realm will be entrusted to my son, Zhao Zhetian. I earnestly hope for everyone's continued support.
With these words, Zhao Zhetian turned towards those behind him and exclaimed, "Zhetian, why delay in paying respects to our esteemed guests?" Zhao Zhetian, clad in a resplendent white suit, stood out among the crowd.
His hair, meticulously styled with wax, parted in the center, exuded an air reminiscent of a traitor. Approaching with a beaming smile, he reached his father's side and respectfully saluted the assembly, saying, "Honored uncles, I humbly request your continued guidance now. Let us witness my father's retirement from the world stage."
With a wave of his hand, he commanded, "Bring it forth." 4 burly men appeared, bearing a dazzling golden cauldron to the villa's entrance. With a clang, it was placed upon the ground. All present were stunned. What on earth? To use such a colossal cauldron just for washing hands?
Xin Feng's perspective widened. He had only seen depictions of hand-washing ceremonies on television, typically with a modest basin. Yet, Zhao Zetian, not content with mere symbolism, chose to use real gold, fashioning it into such a grand cauldron.
This blatant display of wealth was truly astonishing.
Zhao Zetian, satisfied with the awe-inspiring effect of the golden cauldron, chuckled, "Throughout my life, from the age of 12, I have roamed the world. Not only are my hands stained with blood, but so too are my feet, my belly, my head, and even my backside to signify my genuine withdrawal from worldly affairs. Today, I shall not only wash my hands but also bathe, cleansing away the sins and bloodshed of a lifetime.
I ask you all to bear witness."
The crowd was dumbfounded. Goodness, they had only heard of washing hands in a golden basin, never of bathing in a golden cauldron.
How extraordinary you are! And to bathe in front of so many people, completely disrobed? Have you no shame? Aren't you afraid of being seen by so many?
Qin Feng initially ridiculed this eccentric method of retirement, but then, his eyes gleamed with opportunity.
Zhao Zetian bathing publicly would undoubtedly leave him vulnerable, stripped of defenses.
With a single strike of his sword qi, he could end his life. However, Zhao Zetian stood at the outer edge of the crowd, 50 meters away from the villa entrance. Qin Feng's qi projection only had a range of 10 meters. He needed to get closer.
He hadn't informed Yang Wei and the others. Those fools could continue enjoying their seafood, who knew what chaos they might cause otherwise? The crowd blocked Qin Feng's path. He had no choice but to push forward. After advancing 10 meters, a man ahead turned back, glaring at him. "What the hell are you squeezing for?" Qin Feng was taken aback, then retorted, "What do you mean, squeezing? Do you have two of me?"
The man paused, then grew annoyed, attempting to shove Qin Feng. But before his hand reached him, he felt a tremendous force pushing back, stumbling a few steps backward. Seizing the opportunity, Qin Feng advanced another 4 or 5 meters. Finally, Qin Feng reached the front, just 10 meters from the villa entrance. Meanwhile, Zhao Zetian had already entered the golden cauldron, wearing only red underpants. With his head poking out, he began to luxuriate in his bath.
The spectators couldn't shake off their discomfort. Had they traveled all this way just to watch someone bathe?
Qin Feng silently circulated his qi, channeling it through the Hanjuin pericardium meridian into his right index finger. Then, taking aim at Zhao Zetian's head, he unleashed his qi with a pointed finger.
A buzzing sound filled the air. At this moment, a burst of azure light emanated from Zhao Zetian's body, deflecting Qin Feng's true qi.
Qin Feng was greatly astonished.
Could Zhao Zetian also be a formidable martial artist?
Qin Feng hadn't detected any true qi within Zhao Zetian's body through his observation technique. At most, he seemed like an ordinary warrior.
How could he repel Qin Feng's true qi? Assassin!
At this cry from Zhao Zetian, he rose from the golden cauldron. A jade pendant on his chest emitted a faint light, which had blocked Qin Feng's fatal strike. With Zhao Zetian's shout, the members of the Sun Society rushed out from various corners, sprinting towards their direction. The crowd descended into chaos. Qin Feng silently shook his head. He had been too careless. He should have realized that individuals like Zhao Zetian would undoubtedly carry protective talismans. Today's assassination had failed, making future attempts even more challenging.
Clear the way.
At that moment, a roar akin to a ferocious beast resounded.
Li Handi charged forward like a mad bull, his immense strength causing mayhem wherever he went. Staring at Zhao Zetian, who was preparing to emerge from the cauldron, Li Handi roared, "Zhao Zetian, I've come to take your life." Qin Feng was stunned.
He hadn't expected Li Handi, the leader of the Handi gang, to also attempt to assassinate Zhao Zetian today. Simultaneously, over a dozen experts from the Handi gang launched assaults on the members of the Sun Society. As Li Handi neared the golden cauldron, two middle-aged men who had been standing motionless in front of the villa finally made their move. These two individuals were both at the initial vessel realm, having opened up a meridian within their bodies. While this might not pose much of a challenge for Qin Feng, it was insurmountable for ordinary warriors. After all, there was a distinct difference between true qi and inner strength. In just one exchange, Li Handi was struck and forced to retreat, coughing up blood. With a sinister grin, Zhao Zetian taunted, "Leader, I've long known of your intention to eliminate me.
This birthday banquet was arranged for you. After your demise, your territory will be mine." Ha ha ha. Li Handi's expression changed.
He hadn't expected this to be a trap meticulously devised by Zhao Zetian. He had fallen right into it, spending over $1 million just to bring more people into the trap.
Damn it, he was losing both money and risking his life. However, he wouldn't give up without a fight. He bellowed, "All members of the Handy Gang, heed my command. Even if it means sacrificing our lives, we must kill this old bastard." The over a dozen experts he had brought were already embroiled in fierce combat, each facing dozens of opponents. They couldn't come to his aid. Qin Feng moved to the side and called Yang Wei. "Old Zhang, go help Li Handy's gang. The enemy of our enemy is our friend. Be careful, and it would be best to drag the Diaojia and Guangzhou gangs into this mess too." "Don't worry, boss, we're on it." Yang Wei hung up and turned to Ma Baogua and the others. "Time to get to work." Chapter 47, Chaos Unfolds. Upon hearing Yang Wei's instructions, Ma Baogua nodded and immediately began to strip off his clothes. Yang Wei hurriedly exclaimed, "I told you to fight with men, not women. Why are you undressing?" Ma Baogua continued to undress while saying, "These clothes are expensive, I can't risk damaging them. I'll need them to show off next time I come out." The scarred trio found this reasoning incredibly sound and scrambled to undress as well. Yang Wei's face twitched a few times. Seeing that the members of the Handy Gang were holding their own, he also started to undress. Old Ma was right, these clothes were too costly to ruin. The problem was, the shirts weren't cheap either. Reluctantly, the five of them charged into the battlefield shirtless, wearing only their underwear. Yang Wei, Scarface, Chen Hao, and Feng Lauer were the most formidable quartet of the Shadowflow gang. Although they were no match for Qin Feng, they had no trouble dealing with others. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to defend an entire district with just 28 people. As they fought, they shouted to the members of the Handy Gang, "Pay attention. The ones not wearing clothes are here to help you. Don't attack the wrong people." Although Ma Baogua wasn't as skilled as them, his lightning 5 strikes technique was no joke. He struck swiftly, targeting opponents' weaknesses while subtly guiding them towards Sun Quanju's direction, shouting, "Junior brother, despite our differences, we were both taught by the same master. Come and assist your senior brother." Sun Quanju stood coolly in place, his face displaying a disdainful expression as he replied coldly, "I'm not your junior brother. Ever since you betrayed the sect and established your ridiculous Huan Yuan Xing Yi Tai Chi Gate, we've severed ties. I've spared our sect from dealing with you. Asking me for help? Forget it." With no other choice, Ma Baogua focused on dealing with the members of the Sun Society. Qin Feng, observing Yang Wei and the others fighting shirtless, was utterly dumbfounded. It was too embarrassing, their physique was simply not flattering. They looked slim with clothes on, but with their shirts off, they appeared rather overweight. Feng Lauer even utilized his belly fat to rebound opponents' attacks, which made Qin Feng want to facepalm. He realized he needed to get them into shape when they had the time. Seeing that they were not in much danger, Qin Feng shifted his focus to Zhao Zhetian. "Approaching Li Handy," he said, "I'll distract those two middle-aged men later. You get Zhao Zhetian out. It's not easy to kill him on his territory, we have to do it outside." Li Handy was taken aback. "Who are you?" Qin Feng handed him a business card. Li Handy shuddered as he glanced at it. It was the most badass verse he had ever seen on a business card. However, he felt somewhat resentful. If Zhao Zhetian died, he should be the one to rule over North Jiang, but for now, he and Qin Feng were allies against a common enemy. Suppressing his dissatisfaction, he thought about writing a similarly badass verse on his own business card. When he returned, he whispered, "Those two middle-aged men are extremely formidable, they should be innate masters. Are you sure you can keep them occupied? Innate masters?" Qin Feng muttered to himself, quickly understanding. Li Handy referred to those who had cultivated true qi as innate masters, while they, with only inner strength, were considered postnatal masters. He smiled faintly. "You just focus on Zhao Zhetian, leave the rest to me." "All right. If we succeed this time, I owe you a favor." Li Handy clenched his fists, emitting a muffled sound. Simultaneously, he activated his inner strength, causing his arms to swell as if they were inflated, and the red and green carp tattoos on his arms seemed to come alive. "Let's do this!" Qin Feng bellowed, his toes tapping lightly as he executed the dragon soaring steps, darting towards the two middle-aged men. Named Zhao and Zhao Er, these two were entrusted to Zhao Zhetian by his father, having cultivated for over 30 years and reached the acupoint connection realm. They were Zhao Zhetian's greatest reliance. Seeing a youngster like Qin Feng charging at them, they disdainfully snorted in unison and released two powerful bursts of true qi towards him, akin to bullets. Qin Feng's figure swayed, narrowly dodging the attacks. Zhao De and Zhao Er's eyes narrowed.
What swift footwork! The speed of their emitted true chi was comparable to bullets, yet this youngster managed to evade them.
This realization made them wary. The kid was quick.
They snorted explosively and moved in to engage Qin Feng in close combat.
Ha!
Before they even reached him, their chi surged, and they both launched a punch at Qin Feng.
Pop!
Two transparent bursts of true chi shot through the air, causing a ripple as if bullets pierced through a curtain of water, creating a wave of force, terrifying in its intensity. Both men exerted their full strength, unleashing their internal chi to the pinnacle, with enough power to split mountains and crack rocks. At this moment, Qin Feng was less than 2 meters away from them. Unable to evade any longer, he halted his movement, directing his true chi into his right arm.
The tendons bulged, resembling coiling dragons as he struck out fiercely. Boom!
The 3 bursts of true chi collided. In an instant, the air seemed to rupture, with invisible true chi scattering everywhere, creating a surge of air akin to a typhoon, sending people staggering.
Zhao De and Zhao Er's hearts sank.
They hadn't expected this kid's true chi to be so robust. Despite their 30 years of cultivation, they barely matched him. Suppressing their fear, they closed in on Qin Feng, engaging him in a fierce battle.
Meanwhile, Zhao Zetian had yet to emerge from the golden cauldron.
He had great faith in Zhao De and Zhao Er. With them present, he felt perfectly safe. He was curious to see who besides the Handy gang had the audacity to attempt his assassination. Upon spotting Qin Feng, he was surprised. He had no recollection of him. Seeing that Qin Feng had indeed engaged the 2 middle-aged men as planned, Li Handy was ecstatic.
Roaring with excitement, he endured his injuries and charged forward once more. This time, Zhao Zetian panicked.
Stop him! Several of his underlings rushed over, but they were no match for Li Handy. Soon, Li Handy reached the golden cauldron. But more and more members of the Retian gang were rushing over, and it seemed like they were about to encircle them. Li Handy roared once more, embraced the cauldron, and with a forceful exhale, lifted it up, then sprinted away with it above his head. He shouted, "Qin gang leader, run! If we get surrounded, there'll be no escape." Qin Feng saw Li Handy carrying the cauldron, with Zhao Zetian inside, shaking and swaying. His face twitched. This guy indeed had innate strength. Well-built limbs, simple-minded, this guy fit the bill perfectly. Why not just pull Zhao Zetian out? Why carry a cauldron? Did he think he was Xian Yu? After driving back Zhao De and Zhao Er, Qin Feng followed behind Li Handy, shouting to Yang Wei and the others, "Retreat, retreat!" Seeing their leader fleeing, Yang Wei and his men didn't hesitate to leave the battlefield, grabbing their clothes and running. A horde of pursuers trailed behind them. Guests scrambled to escape as chaos erupted. Zhao Zetian watched his father's figure in the distance, growing increasingly anxious. He yelled, "Everyone, arm yourselves! We must exterminate the Handy gang today." Chapter 48, Displaying a Scene. In the expansive residential compound, meticulously guarded, security personnel patrolled daily. At this moment, Captain Wu Yokai gathered his team to convey directives from the company when suddenly, amidst the villas, a commotion arose. Glancing over, he was startled. A burly figure hoisted a colossal golden tripod overhead, sprinting wildly towards them. Within the tripod, a portly man could be discerned. Wasn't that Mr. Zhao? What spectacle was this? Was it for flaunting steps on social media, avoiding exertion by having this strongman run while he bathed? The affluent in the city truly knew how to amuse themselves. But why were others following suit, collectively displaying their step counts? They say there's an app now where walking earns money. Are they aiming for that, going to such lengths? Especially those 5 individuals behind, not quite fruitful runners, clad in briefs, clothes in hand. Seems they've innovated the step counting game? And a multitude followed, men and women alike. Ah, today is Mr. Zhao's birthday bash, quite the revelry indeed. As the security personnel struggled to comprehend, Zhao Retian's loud cry pierced the air, "Close the gates, quickly! I'm being kidnapped!" Captain Wu Yokai, startled, realized the wealthiest resident of the compound was being abducted. This was serious. Urgently he commanded, "Intercept that person." He then pressed a remote, and the compound's gates began to close. Li Handy, despite his innate strength, was injured. Carrying the golden tripod, Zhao Retian, and bathwater had taken its toll. As the gates neared closure, he gritted his teeth, hastening to intercept the security guards, aiming to dash out before it shut. Bang! A dull thud.
Li Handy was ultimately too late, crashing into the gates. The tremendous force toppled them, but he couldn't hold on.
The golden tripod slipped from his grasp, crashing to the ground, ensnaring Zhao Ritian within.
Zhao Ritian, in agony, panicked.
Despite being under the protection of Zhao De and Zhao Er, he never imagined he'd be kidnapped. Nevertheless, as a tycoon, he swiftly composed himself, realizing cowering within the tripod was futile.
He needed to devise an escape.
Attempting to rise, he found the tripod too heavy to budge. He cursed his choice. Why gold? Why not bronze coated in gold?
He bellowed, channeling his meager inner strength, finally lifting the tripod and, with legs trembling, moved akin to a tortoise bearing a golden shell. Witnessing this, Xin Feng, in awe of Zhao Ritian's will to survive, sprinted over. With a swift kick, he dislodged the tripod, then removed the jade pendant from Zhao Ritian's neck. In a chilling tone, he declared, "Your hands stained with blood, thinking a bath would cleanse them? Wash them in hell." With that, he sent a surge of energy into Zhao Ritian's heart, halting his blood flow. After all, this was the city, public murder was disdainful, hence the need for an undetectable method to end his life. Completing his tasks, Xin Feng turned, placing the unconsciously Handy within the tripod before dashing off. Though made of gold, it was a pity to discard it. Fortunately, his inner energy mitigated the weight, so the impact was minimal. Outside the expansive residence, members of the Shadow Sect anxiously awaited, several vans at the ready. They glanced towards the compound, filled with concern. After all, attempting to assassinate the leader of Jiang Bei's foremost gang was immensely perilous. A single misstep could result in the deaths of all 6. He's out. The boss is out. Quick, let's provide cover, a member exclaimed as Xin Feng emerged from the compound, prompting the drivers to hasten. Xin Feng stowed the tripod and Li Handy into one of the vans. The onlookers were bewildered. "Boss, have you mistaken him? That's Li Handy, not Zhao Ritian." "I know, Zhao Ritian has already been taken care of, thanks to this guy's assistance," Xin Feng said. If Li Handy hadn't carried Zhao Ritian out, if he had been killed inside the villa, today, besides him, Yang Wei and the others would likely have died inside too, as he had already heard gunshots. After a while, Yang Wei and the others also ran out, panting heavily, urging as soon as they got into the car. "Quick, go, Zhao Zetian and his men are chasing us, they're armed." The cadre's faces tensed at the news. They, from the Shadow Sect, had no firearms. They quickly started the cars and raced ahead. Inside the car, Yang Wei and the others put on their clothes, instantly transforming into fresh faces again. They looked at Li Handy and said, "Boss, how do we deal with this guy? Why not just kill him? With him gone, Handy's gang is leaderless, and our annexation will be much easier." Scarface excitedly exclaimed, "Exactly, boss, it's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Once we absorb Ritian's gang and Handy's gang, other factions will be no match. It's as if the heavens are on our side." Feng Lauer produced a dagger from somewhere. "Boss, just give the word, and I'll finish him off right away." Seeing everyone eagerly awaiting his decision, Xin Feng shook his head. "Let's not kill him for now, keeping him alive might prove useful." With that, he placed his hand over Li Handy's heart, channeling his inner energy to assess his condition. Furrowing his brows, he hadn't expected Li Handy to be so severely injured, with several meridians ruptured. In such a state, he had managed to carry the golden tripod, Zhao Ritian, and bathwater for so long. Truly, his talents were extraordinary. Xin Feng developed a sense of cherishing talents. Soon, Xin Feng and his entourage arrived at the Shadow Sect headquarters, where they carried Li Handy into the conference room. Xin Feng instructed, "Go to the pharmacy and buy a set of silver needles. I'll need them." Yang Wei volunteered to be the errand boy and soon returned with the needles. "Boss, do you intend to use acupuncture to save him?" a cadre named Zhang Ergo asked excitedly. Xin Feng looked at him oddly. "Why are you so excited?" Zhang Ergo replied, "Boss, you might not know, but my family practices traditional Chinese medicine. I've been learning acupuncture from my grandfather since I was a child and have some expertise. So, seeing someone else using acupuncture gets me a bit excited, wanting to exchange pointers." Other cadres nodded in agreement. Ergo's acupuncture skills are excellent, able to treat facial paralysis, cervical spondylosis, and lumbar disease. Xin Feng was speechless. "I'm here to save a life, and you're talking about treating facial paralysis. Do you have the nerve to discuss acupuncture with me? Go away and don't delay my treatment." With that, he swiftly inserted the needles into Li Handy's body,
covering him entirely within a minute, leaving everyone astonished. Zhang Ergo wished he could find a hole to hide in.
The gap was too wide, perhaps even his ancestor's ancestor wouldn't have such acupuncture techniques.
While Qin Feng treated Li Handy, the underworld was already in chaos. With the leaders of Ritian's and Handy's gangs dead or missing, the two major factions erupted into a violent conflict.
Chapter 49, Illiterate.
As Qin Feng treated him, Li Handy's injuries stabilized, but the severed meridians couldn't be reconnected immediately. It would require a substantial amount of precious Chinese medicinal herbs for treatment. Li Handy slowly regained consciousness. His resilience was truly remarkable. Despite such severe injuries, not only had he survived, but he could also sit up, as if the severed meridians within him didn't belong to him. However, upon seeing Yang Wei and the others, he glared fiercely, accusing, "How dare you kidnap me?" Yang Wei was speechless, sneering, "If it weren't for our boss saving you, you'd be dead by now." Suddenly recalling the events at the expansive residence, where he crashed into the electric gate, flinging Zhao Ritian out, Li Handy's heart skipped a beat. Anxiously, he asked, "Is Zhao Ritian dead?" I've already killed him." Qin Feng, having finished washing his hands, emerged from the restroom, grinning at Li Handy. "In that case, why wait? Go seize Ritian's territory. As thanks for saving me, I can grant you 3 districts, Li Handy suggested, attempting to rise but grimacing in pain, forced to sit back down. 3 of your meridians are severed. I advise against moving recklessly. Qin Feng, pulling up a chair, sat before Li Handy, suggesting, "Shall we discuss terms?" "What terms?" Li Handy asked, glaring. "I'll reconnect your meridians. In return, Handy's gang will merge into my cool gang. How about it?" "Impossible." Li Handy rejected without hesitation. "I could kill you, and still, I'd gain control of your territory," Qin Feng stated plainly. "Humph, go ahead and try. Even if you kill me, I'm not the only one leading my gang. My men will avenge me. Your cool gang of 28 won't stand a chance against my men's attacks." Li Handy remained unfazed. Qin Feng sighed. Li Handy was stubborn as a bull, unafraid of death. That made things a bit difficult. "You're as stubborn as Mount Tai, clinging to the vine of love. Listen to me, oh." Just then, Li Handy's phone rang. He couldn't help but move to the upbeat music, swaying his body before finally picking up the call. Excited voices echoed from the phone. "Boss, you're alive. We thought you were dead. Where are you now? Come back quickly. Zhao Zetian and his crew are going crazy, seizing our territory with guns. We can't hold on much longer. If you don't come back soon, we'll lose all our territory." Li Handy abruptly stood up, swaying, enduring the pain, his face contorted in a terrifying grimace. Blood trickled from his mouth as he roared, "Hold your ground. They have guns, don't you? Fight back fiercely. Zhao Ritian is dead. So what if someone dies? Dead men tell no tales." From the phone came the aggrieved voice of his subordinate, "Boss, they have 10 guns, we only have 1, and it's unreliable. We can't possibly win. Please come back quickly." "Useless. I'm coming back right away." Li Handy hung up, took a few steps, then collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. Cold sweat drenched his body instantly, large droplets rolling down his forehead, his face drained of color. Qin Feng shook his head. "With injuries this severe, even if you rush over, it's just sending yourself to die." Li Handy's lips trembled with pain as he looked at Qin Feng. "Qin brother, I have a favor to ask. Could you please go save my brothers? If you can rescue them, my life will be yours, and you can have Handy Gang's territory." Qin Feng was momentarily surprised, feeling a hint of goodwill towards Li Handy. Despite previously threatening him with his own life, Li Handy didn't care, but now he cared so much about his brothers' lives. He seemed to be a person of deep sentiment and loyalty. "Write a promissory note." "I'm afraid you'll back out," Qin Feng suggested. "Damn it, Li Handy's word is as firm as a nail driven into wood. How could I go back on my word? Asking me to write a note is an insult." Li Handy shouted. Qin Feng couldn't be bothered with him, gesturing for Yang Wei to bring paper and pen for Li Handy. "You write it, and I'll go rescue them. If you don't write, then it's too bad for you." Li Handy glared at Qin Feng, veins bulging in his neck. Seeing that the other party completely disregarded his menacing glare, and considering that his brothers were still in danger, he reluctantly picked up the pen. However, he hesitated to write for a long time before saying, "I can't read or write."
Yang Wei and the others chuckled.
It seemed this guy didn't want to write the promissory note because he was afraid others would find out he couldn't read.
"I'll help you." Yang Wei, once a jokester, was happy to oblige. Taking the pen and paper, he swiftly wrote it out. Finally, he said to Li Handy, "Just leave a fingerprint."
With everything settled, Qin Feng said, "You stay here and rest, focusing on your recovery.
Leave the rest to me."
Then he turned to Yang Wei and said, "Arrange yourselves according to strength."
Although Yang Wei and the others didn't understand Qin Feng's intentions, they complied.
After arranging themselves, Qin Feng memorized their faces and said, "It's too troublesome to remember each of your names, so I'll assign numbers based on your strength. Yang Wei is cool 1, Chen Hao cool 2, and so on.
Remember your numbers. When I call out, don't get confused."
Yang Wei and the others were a bit puzzled, but no one dared to say anything.
They just nodded. "All right, cool 28, you stay here to look after Li Handy. The rest of you, follow me to rescue people."
After Qin Feng finished speaking, he left. As the weakest in strength, Zhang Ergo stayed behind his cool 28. Among them, only he had some medical skills.
If Li Handy had any emergencies, he could provide first aid. Qin Feng and his team boarded 4 vans and headed towards Handy Gang's territory. "Boss, you heard the phone call just now. Riten Gang has 10 guns, Handy Gang only has 1 unreliable one. Isn't this a bit risky?" Yang Wei expressed his concerns.
Even if he was skilled, he couldn't fight against guns. The other members nodded in agreement.
"You don't need to worry about that. I'll handle the guns. You just deal with the others. It's best if we can capture Zhao Zhetian. Without a leader, Riten Gang should disband.
Also, call Li Handy and let him inform Handy Gang's members that we're here to help them, and they should follow my orders," Qin Feng instructed. Yang Wei had no choice but to call Li Handy and convey Qin Feng's message. Li Handy agreed readily.
Half an hour later, the van stopped at Handy Gang's territory. Chapter 50, Rescuing Handy Gang Members.
Handy Gang's headquarters was located in the outskirts, where there used to be a theater under construction but was abandoned due to financial problems. Li Handy saw its potential and transformed it into their headquarters. At this moment, Riten Gang had surrounded the place with over 2,000 people, each wielding weapons such as machetes, iron rods, and bricks. Zhao Zhetian stood on a makeshift platform, exuding power and dominance. Behind him were Zhao De and Zhao Er, naturally guarding him after Zhao Retian's demise. At the entrance of Handy Gang's headquarters, 10 men in black held guns, aiming them inside, creating intimidation that forced Handy Gang's members to stay inside and not come out. Zhao Retian shouted into a megaphone, "Listen up, everyone inside. You're surrounded. Lay down your weapons and surrender. You have 10 minutes to consider. If you don't come out by then, we'll charge in." He repeated this 3 times before satisfied and putting down the megaphone. Qin Feng, lurking nearby, couldn't help but twitch at the words. Damn it, even in the midst of a gang fight, they still shout out lines like this.
If one didn't know better, they'd think it's a scene from a cop drama. "Boss, there are too many of them. We can't possibly break in," Feng Lauer said, feeling dizzy after counting Riten Gang's numbers.
There were too many, and he couldn't even keep track. The other members nodded in agreement. Despite promising to help Li Handy, there were over 2,000 of them, while they only had 28 people.
They definitely couldn't break through, especially with Zhao De and Zhao Er there. Qin Feng frowned, regretting his inadequate cultivation. If he had reached the condensation period, these 1,000+ people would be nothing in his eyes. "Our vans have been modified, right?"
Qin Feng's gaze fell on the 4 vans.
Yang Wei nodded. "Cool 8 used to fix cars.
He modified these vans to be sturdy, durable, crash-resistant, and have improved acceleration."
"You used to be a jokester?" Qin Feng couldn't help but ask finally.
Even to discuss modifying cars, he had to rhyme like that.
"Heh, I used to write some jokes to make a living."
"It's nothing worth mentioning," Yang Wei said with a slightly embarrassed smile. "Arrange 4 drivers and have them drive to buy several cases of beer, alcohol, and plenty of gauze and cotton," Qin Feng instructed. "Boss, are you planning to make Molotov cocktails?"
Yang Wei guessed Qin Feng's plan. "Exactly.
We need to create some chaos to have a chance," Qin Feng confirmed. His orders were quickly carried out. After about 10 minutes, all the materials were ready. The 28 of them poured out the beer and filled the bottles with alcohol, stuffing gauze, and cotton into the bottle openings.
You 4 drive and crash into them.
The rest of you throw the bottles, Qin Feng ordered before stealthily approaching the 10 men holding guns. He needed to take care of them first so that Handy Gang's members could charge out.
Buzzing sounds filled the air.
The modified vans roared with the engines of sports cars as Cool 8, Cool 9, Cool 13, and Cool 20, the 4 veteran drivers wearing helmets, slammed the accelerator and charged towards Ritian Gang. Meanwhile, Yang Wei and the others began hurling Molotov cocktails. Boom. The Molotov cocktails exploded upon impact with the ground.
It's the Cool Gang. Take them down.
Zhao Zhetian shouted from the elevated platform, immediately recognizing the Cool Gang's vans, which stood out due to their cool modifications. The Riten gang members surrounding the area immediately roared and charged forward with iron rods and machetes, while those with bricks started throwing them. As Yang Wei and the others continued hurling Molotov cocktails, they gradually retreated, creating distance. The 4 vans crashed into the crowd, causing chaos and knocking down numerous people in no time.
Damn it, go ram into them with the cars.
Zhao Zhetian's face twisted into a fierce expression as he shouted loudly, no longer resembling the coward Yang Wei had described.
Riten Gang's members with cars immediately rushed towards their vehicles.
Suddenly, countless car lights lit up the area, illuminating it as bright as day. Over 10 Hummers, Jeeps, and Land Rovers roared as they charged towards the 4 vans.
Cool 8 and the others naturally avoided collision with them.
Although their cars were modified to be highly crash-resistant, it wouldn't be easy to break through if surrounded by these cars. They turned their vehicles around and sped away.
However, the Riten gang members driving the cars didn't let them go and chased after them frantically. Amidst the chaos, Qin Feng finally reached the entrance of the theater.
The 10 men holding guns remained motionless, unaffected by the chaos behind them. Their task, as assigned by Zhao Zhetian, was to guard this place and prevent Handy Gang's members from escaping. Suddenly, 6 of them felt a sharp pain in their wrists. Their right hands, holding the guns, were simultaneously severed and fell to the ground. The remaining 4 men were startled and prepared to shoot at Qin Feng, who had now revealed himself, but before they could pull the triggers, they followed in the footsteps of the 6 men before them. Blood sprayed from their wrists as they screamed in agony, the sounds even overpowering the chaos behind them. Qin Feng took a deep breath and shouted towards the theater entrance, "I'm the leader of the Cool Gang.
Li Handy entrusted me to rescue you. Come out now."
His voice, infused with true qi, resonated inside the theater, causing the eardrums of those inside to buzz. The second in command of Handy Gang heard the voice and immediately shouted, "Brothers, follow me and charge out." Over 100 people rushed out and charged towards the chaos outside.
Qin Feng was stunned.
Yang Wei had told him that Handy Gang had over 1,000 members.
Why were there so few people now?
Although Yang Wei and the others had caused some trouble for Riten Gang, they had only managed to distract over 500 people. There were still 1,500 people outside. Even if these 100 or so people managed to break out, they would likely pay a heavy price. What Qin Feng didn't know was that although Handy Gang did indeed have over 1,000 members, they had been dispersed by Riten Gang, and only 100 or so had managed to hide here. The rest of the gang members were still outside, fleeing. He looked towards the elevated platform, his expression turning grim, as Zhao De and Zhao Er were already charging towards them. Once he was entangled by them and surrounded by 1,500 people, even if he had 6 meridians connected, he probably wouldn't be able to escape today. As Handy Gang's members charged forward, the second in command shouted, "Brothers, fight them.
Show them that Handy Gang is not to be trifled with."
Handy Gang's members roared as they rushed into the crowd, but soon they were all knocked down, clutching their heads and wailing. Meanwhile, Riten Gang had only lost a few dozen people. Qin Feng felt a pang of frustration.
Truly, Li Handy's subordinates were stubborn.
Despite being outnumbered, they charged forward regardless, instead of dispersing and running away. If they could escape individually, that would be one less person to worry about. He stepped forward, about to collect all the guns into his storage ring, when a voice sounded in his ear.
"Kid, let's see how you'll escape today." Zhao De and Zhao Er smirked ominously as they prepared to attack.
Just then, shouts and screams erupted from behind, indicating that another gang had joined the melee.
Chapter 51, Stripped of Dignity.
Zhao Zhetian stood on the high platform, surveying the whole situation. Upon seeing all the members of the earth-shattering gang defeated, a smug smile appeared on his face. For so many years, he had been playing the fool, letting others look down on him and underestimate him. Today, he could finally reveal his true strength. Tonight's battle would be the moment for him to establish his dominance.
Although his father, Zhao Ritian, had passed away, I, Zhao Zhetian, would make everyone know that the Ritian gang would not decline.
It would only grow stronger in our hands, ultimately unifying the northern Jiang region and becoming the ultimate boss. Just then, he heard shouts coming from behind. Turning around, he became furious and exclaimed fiercely.
Damn it, the scoundrel gang and the arrogant gang want to take advantage of the situation.
Today, I will eliminate you all at once, eradicating any future troubles. He picked up the megaphone in his hand and shouted loudly, members of the Ritian gang, listen up. Leave behind 100 people to watch over the earth-shattering gang. The rest of you, wipe out the scoundrel gang and the arrogant gang for me.
Upon hearing Zhao Zhetian's command, the Ritian gang members immediately took action, chasing after Yang Wei's several hundred men, who had also rushed back to confront the other two gangs. Chen Scoundrel and Sun Arrogant each brought 500 henchmen. They weren't coming to rescue the earth-shattering gang out of goodwill but to take advantage while the Ritian gang and the earth-shattering gang were busy fighting. Moreover, they didn't want to see the Ritian gang swallow up the earth-shattering gang's territory.
After all, the Ritian gang, with control over 8 districts, would be beyond their ability to contend with.
However, they had miscalculated.
They never expected that without Li Handi, the earth-shattering gang would be so vulnerable, with over 1,000 henchmen reduced to just over 100, huddling here, and the Ritian gang had hardly suffered any losses. Seeing his men surrounded by the Ritian gang, Chen Scoundrel rubbed his greasy hair and roared, brothers, let's fight them. With that, he lowered his head and charged forward.
Bang!
A sound of bones cracking was heard as Chen Scoundrel's head collided with a Ritian gang henchman's. He pushed forcefully ahead, causing the henchman to grimace in pain, stumbling backward and crashing into his own comrades. Like a locomotive, one crashing into another, Chen Scoundrel plowed through over a dozen people, pushing forward relentlessly, unstoppable. On the other side, Sun Arrogant, with his towering height of 1.9 meters, stood out in the crowd. He was indeed thin, weighing only 120 pounds, standing with steady steps, his hands swaying as he assumed a Tai Chi stance. 2 Ritian gang members rushed at him. He extended his arms, which were notably longer than those of an average person, and instantly grabbed the collars of the 2 men. Then, he straightened his arms and began to spin. As his speed increased, he formed a human windmill.
The 2 Ritian gang henchmen became his weapons.
Wherever he went, no one could stop him, they were all sent flying.
Although the 2 gang leaders were brave, the Ritian gang outnumbered them significantly.
Before long, the scoundrel gang and the arrogant gang found themselves heavily surrounded. Zhao Zhetian watched all this from the high platform, a smug look in his eyes.
He wanted to take advantage of the situation and finish you off.
On the other side, Xin Feng and Zhao Er, engaged in combat without any henchmen interrupting them this time. Although Xin Feng had more channels of qi circulation than Zhao De and Zhao Er combined, his actual combat experience was inferior to theirs.
The 3 fought back and forth, but as Xin Feng gradually adapted, Zhao De and Zhao Er felt the pressure mounting, even facing imminent danger. Meanwhile, Xin Feng became more and more adept. Zhao De and Zhao Er inwardly panicked. How could this kid be so formidable? After fighting for so long, he still had such vitality, while their internal energy was nearing exhaustion. They exchanged a glance, knowing things were dire. If they continued like this, they would likely perish here today. A hint of ruthlessness flashed in their eyes as they each took out a black pill from their pockets and swallowed it. Instantly, their aura skyrocketed, and popping sounds like beans frying echoed from within their bodies. Ayo! Zhao De roared furiously, emitting a tiger's roar from his mouth. His hands formed into tiger claws as he knelt on one knee, leaning forward in the posture of a fierce tiger pouncing on its prey. As qi surged, it seemed as if a real tiger had appeared, glaring at Xin Feng. Chirp! On the other hand, Zhao Er emitted a crane's cry, his hands spread open and fingers together, resembling a bird's beak. He lifted his left foot, with the right foot's toes standing on Zhao Da's back, while his hands waved as if a celestial crane searching for food. The Tiger Crane Duo. Zhao De and Zhao Er's ultimate technique, enhanced by swallowing the pills, forcibly opened 3 more meridians in their bodies, increasing the power of this move. Xin Feng's expression turned solemn. As qi surged, it gathered into his arms. Here comes death. With a loud shout, Zhao Er pointed his toes on Zhao Da's back, launching himself into the air, closing the distance with Xin Feng in an instant. Head down, feet up,
his hands pecked towards Qin Feng's head. Empowered by qi, his fingers were as hard as iron, capable of piercing even the hardest human skull with ease. At the same time, Zhao De kicked off the ground violently, leaping towards Qin Feng, his tiger claws continuously scratching. The air was marked with white marks, a testament to their immense power. Once caught, they could tear off a chunk of flesh. Seeing the two approaching, Qin Feng took a deep breath, recalling a martial technique from his practice.
Embrace the sky hammer.
With a low growl, he embraced the air with his hands, sinking his steps down as if holding up a mountain.
Boundless chi poured into the space he embraced, smashing forward abruptly. Buzz!
The entire space trembled as if a giant mountain collapsed, and the surging chi fiercely pounded Zhao De.
Crack! Zhao De didn't even grunt, his spine was snapped into two pieces, his body forming a V shape as he fell to the ground, dead beyond death. At the moment Qin Feng killed Zhao De, he felt a sharp pain on his scalp as Zhao Er attacked him. Fortunately, he promptly infused qi into his scalp, preventing Zhao Er from piercing his head. However, a ring of hair was torn off by Zhao Er, leaving him bald in the middle. How could Qin Feng endure this?
As the saying goes, hair can be cut, but the hairstyle must be maintained. This old guy dared to pull out his hair, which made Qin Feng thoroughly enraged. He reached out, grabbed Zhao Er from above, and then unleashed a flurry of punches. Poor Zhao Er, as a Qi Channel realm expert who had also taken pills, under Qin Feng's relentless beating, he had no strength to fight back and was beaten to death by Qin Feng. After dealing with Zhao De and Zhao Er, Qin Feng sat on the ground, panting heavily. His internal qi was almost depleted, and his scalp was burning with pain. He reached up to touch the bald spot, feeling bare and exposed. His face turned ashen.
Did he really have to buy a wig now? Chapter 52, Tripartite Agreement.
The melee continued unabated, yet Qin Feng abstained from further engagement. Exhausted, he longed for respite, particularly mindful of his image. With his hair now in disarray akin to the Mediterranean style, he felt disinclined to venture forth. After all, he represented the illustrious Cool Gang, with its formidable poetic business cards. Should he be seen with a conspicuous bald patch, he risked ridicule. Surveying his surroundings, he donned a hat and proceeded to haul the bodies of Zhao De and Zhao Er towards the fallen members of the Earthquake Gang. He had, after all, promised Li Handedi to rescue his subordinates and must not renege on his word. Nearby, 100 or so lackeys from the Sun Heaven Gang stood guard. As Qin Feng approached, poised to issue a warning, two lifeless bodies fell before them. Then came Qin Feng's impassive voice, "If you wish to live, scatter." The sight of Zhao De and Zhao Er's corpses petrified the Sun Heaven underlings. These two were revered figures among their ranks, formidable martial artists whose contributions had expanded the Sun Heaven Gang.
Now, they lay slain by the hand of a mere youth.
In a flurry, the 100 lackeys vanished, swiftly joining the fray against the other two factions approaching. The second-in-command of the Earthquake Gang, Qin Feng observed the man, his face contorted into a porcine semblance from the beating, unconscious. Furrowing his brow, Qin Feng administered a few taps to acupressure points on his body, infusing a modicum of vital energy.
The second-in-command's eyelids fluttered, gradually opening.
Suddenly recalling recent events, he sat up abruptly, only to be seized by agony. His teeth gritted as recollections flooded back. "Was it you who saved us?" he inquired, turning towards Qin Feng.
Qin Feng nodded. "I am Qin, the leader of the Cool Gang.
At the behest of your leader, I have come to your rescue." Gratitude welled in the second-in-command's eyes as he clasped his hands in a gesture of appreciation.
"I am Lun Yo. Many thanks, Leader Qin, for your timely intervention." Nyo Nyo? Qin Feng's facial muscles twitched. What an odd name. Is this a game of chess or cards? It seems the Earthquake Gang lacks anyone of normalcy. Retrieving his phone, he dialed Yang Wei. "Meet me at the entrance of the Opera House. Bring the members of the Earthquake Gang back with you." Shortly after, Yang Wei and his companions arrived, rousing the Earthquake Gang members and guiding them outside. On the elevated platform, Zhao Zhetian continued to arrogantly command his underlings, directing them to pummel the members of the Diaozha Bang and Quangjui Bang. Though Chen Diaozha and Sun Quangjui possessed formidable combat prowess, even heroes falter against overwhelming odds. After over half an hour of tumultuous combat, nearly all of their 500 minions lay prone on the ground. Meanwhile, the two gang leaders found themselves encircled by the Sun Heaven Gang. "Sun brother, continuing like this is not a solution. Capture the thief first, then the king. Lend me your assistance to propel me onto the high platform."
Once we deal with Zhao Zetian, the rest will be inconsequential. Chen Diaza ran his hand through his hair, his expression fierce. Much of his painstakingly grown hair had been shed during this chaotic battle, causing him considerable distress. You see, he had a tendency to lose hair, and achieving a full head of hair was already quite a feat for him.
Sun Quanzhuai's face elongated as he nodded.
The internal energy surged within him, and a meridian in his arm opened. Channeling his energy into this meridian, his emaciated arm swelled, and he hoisted Chen Diaza, who was shorter than him, into a rapid spin.
Go, he bellowed, then abruptly let go. Chen Diaza shot towards the high platform like a cannonball. Zhao Zetian, your demise is at hand.
Chen Diaza shouted, hands pressed tightly against the outer thighs, adjusting his posture. Simultaneously, he directed his inner strength to the top of his head. In an instant, he traversed over 100 meters, hurtling ferociously towards Zhao Zetian. Quick, stop him! Zhao Zetian, seeing Chen Diaza's dog-like head charging straight towards him, panicked. While commanding his lackeys to intercept, he made a dash towards the edge of the platform, preparing to jump off.
But Chen Diaza's speed was simply too swift, and the intense friction even caused sparks to fly from his hair.
Hastily patting them out, he couldn't afford to let his luscious locks catch fire.
In barely half a second, he was already before Zhao Zetian. Collision.
The dog-like head struck Zhao Zetian's abdomen squarely, sending him soaring into the air, his body continuously flipping backwards.
Blood gushed from his mouth in torrents. Bang! After flying over 50 meters, Chen Diaza's momentum dissipated, and he plummeted from the air. Similarly, Zhao Zetian crashed down heavily to the ground.
He felt as though he had been struck by a high-speed train, his internal organs rupturing under the tremendous force. His expression contorted in agony, wanting to say something, but as soon as he opened his mouth, blood gushed out.
Chen Diaza stood up, observing Zhao Zetian.
Knowing he was beyond saving, he shouted loudly, Zhao Zetian is dead.
Surrender now.
The tumultuous melee quieted in this moment, with the lackeys of the Sun Heaven gang turning their attention here. However, with so many people around, except for those closest to Zhao Zetian, no one could see his sorry state, only a sea of heads. Seeing this, Chen Diaza hoisted Zhao Zetian and walked towards the high platform, then threw him to the ground, roaring, from today onwards, the Sun Heaven gang is no more. Whoever dares to oppose, this will be their fate.
With his last breath, Zhao Zetian muttered, My son. Zhao Tian. Will. Avenge. Me.
Then, he tilted his head and went to report to his ancestors.
Chen Diaza furrowed his brow. Zhao Zetian had a son? How did he not know?
Nevertheless, he didn't care. Zhao Zetian was in his 30s, and his son was at most a teenager.
What kind of storm could a teenager stir up?
Seeing that the new gang leader was also dead, the lackeys of the Sun Heaven gang dispersed in a panic, soon disappearing completely.
Only then did Qin Feng approach Chen Diaza and Sun Quanzhuai.
The two gang leaders also looked at Qin Feng, a hint of hostility in their eyes. As gang leaders, they naturally knew that the man before them was the new leader of the cool gang. Moreover, they had received his poetic business cards, harboring little goodwill towards Qin Feng. Chen Diaza said, now that the Sun Heaven gang has fallen, and the Earthquake gang is no more, only the three of us remain as the major gangs in Jiangbei. To avoid further casualties, why don't we decide who the true leader of the underground world in Jiangbei is through a martial competition? Qin Feng smiled. That's a good suggestion.
I agree. Sun Quanzhuai, expressionless, asked, I wonder what the rules of this competition will be. Chen Diaza replied, we each send out 3 people. Whoever stands last will be the winner. How about a month from now? Agreed. Qin Feng and Sun Quanzhuai nodded simultaneously, indicating their acceptance. Chapter 53, The Causes of Hair Loss.
Within the premises of the Shadow Stream Group, a vast assembly room teemed with people. Hapless members of the Hangdi gang lay strewn across the floor, their dolorous moans echoing through the space.
Having endured a severe thrashing from the Ryu gang earlier, each individual bore bruises and swelling, though thankfully, none faced mortal peril. Upon sighting Li Hangdi, Lun Yo was immediately overcome with sorrow. He lamented, Boss, we've lost our territory. I warned you before your departure that today was not opportune for an assassination. Alas, likening myself to Chen Gong encountering Lu Bu, no matter how lofty the stratagem, it proves futile. Upon hearing this, Qin Feng was momentarily speechless. To equate oneself to Chen Gong with such intellect, Li Hangdi was certainly indulging in undue flattery.
Li Hangdi, feeling somewhat ashamed, hung his head in silence, offering no retort.
Qin Feng, taken aback, queried Yang Wei in a hushed tone, "Is this Lu Niu the strategist of the Hangdi gang?" Yang Wei nodded in affirmation. "One could say so. This fellow used to be a street fortune teller.
Later, he joined the Hangdi gang and became Li Hangdi's confidant. Damn, turns out he's a charlatan.
In this day and age, even charlatans are joining the underworld?"
Turning to Li Hangdi, he stated, "Master Li, you previously stated that by saving your subordinates, their lives became mine.
Does this pledge still hold?"
"Of course, my word is my bond." Li Hangdi never goes back on his word. Li Hangdi glared with a bovine gaze, his voice resonating with conviction.
"Very well then.
Henceforth, you shall disband the Hangdi gang and integrate all members into my cool gang." Li Hangdi fell silent for a moment upon hearing this, gritting his teeth before acquiescing, "Fine."
Lu Niu opened his mouth as if to speak but ultimately remained silent. Perhaps under a different leader, his stratagems could find realization. "You all stay here and recuperate. Ku Urshiba, follow the prescription I provided and procure all the Chinese medicinal herbs listed. I intend to assist Li Hangdi in restoring his meridians."
Qin Feng instructed, handing a piece of paper to Zhang Ergu. Upon perusing it, Zhang Ergu's eyes widened in disbelief. The document listed over 100 types of herbs. After he finished reading through, he breathed a sigh of relief, realizing they were all common herbs, easily obtainable when gathered comprehensively. Old Yang, tend to them.
"I shall take my leave for now,"
Qin Feng announced before exiting the assembly room and driving back to his villa.
Surveying the desolate villa, Qin Feng sighed and dialed Zhou Shuawei's number. "Sister, why haven't you returned yet?" "Little Feng, I apologize.
Due to the arranged blind dates, my parents have requested me to stay with them for a few days.
Also, you need to prepare yourself, they might want to meet you soon." Zhou Shuawei's voice emanated from the phone.
Qin Feng was taken aback by the swiftness of the developments. Suddenly, he remembered his balding scalp. This wouldn't do, he needed to rectify it quickly.
Though he could wear a hat, it would still feel awkward.
It was imperative to leave a favorable impression on his future in-laws during his first encounter with Sister Zhou's parents. Standing before the mirror, Qin Feng removed his hat, slightly lowering his head to inspect the bald patch at the crown of his head. Feeling a surge of frustration attacking his weak spot, his hair, he attempted to accelerate its growth with internal energy, only to find it futile.
Zhao Er's peck had plucked out his hair follicles entirely.
It seemed he would have to explore alternative solutions. Suddenly, he recalled an advertisement he had seen on television before, Hans 9+9, purportedly specializing in hair regeneration.
Perhaps he could give it a try.
After searching online for the address, Qin Feng set out in his Santana. After navigating through twists and turns, he arrived at a somewhat secluded location.
At the end of an alley hung a massive signboard. Hans 9+9, illuminated by neon lights, stood out conspicuously.
Beneath these characters, it was inscribed, specializing in treating various causes of hair loss, baldness, scalp sores, and suppurative conditions.
Although it was already well past 8 in the evening, the small cabin remained brightly lit. Qin Feng stepped inside, greeted by a room resembling a clinic.
Behind the inquiry desk sat a middle-aged man clad in a white coat, his naturally curly black hair exceptionally dense, unmistakably portraying him as a living advertisement. 3 middle-aged men occupied the waiting chairs, and Qin Feng took a seat at the back.
The last of the men, upon seeing Qin Feng, offered a warm smile and remarked, "Young man, experiencing hair loss, too?" Qin Feng nodded. "Ah, young people nowadays have it tough.
You look to be only in your 20s, yet already grappling with hair loss troubles." The man wore the expression of someone experienced in such matters. Qin Feng glanced at the sparse strands of hair adorning the man's head, resembling a true Mediterranean hairstyle. Observing Qin Feng's gaze on his balding crown, the man chuckled lightly, casually running his hand over his head. Instantly, the already thinning hair grew even sparser, with a few more strands falling into his palm. He then blew the loose hair away with practiced ease, saying, "I assume you don't have a girlfriend."
"How did you know?"
Qin Feng found it odd.
Was he radiating desperation? To be discerned as single from this? "That's right."
The man slapped his thigh. "I once heard that aside from genetic and patchy hair loss, there's another reason."
"What reason?" Qin Feng inquired.
If you go too long without a girlfriend, your hair follicles think you become a monk, so they start falling out on their own.
Xin Feng's face twitched. Was this guy for real? Encounter with a lunatic, perhaps.
He closed his eyes to ignore him, refusing further interaction. Before long, it was Xin Feng's turn. Removing his hat, he revealed the bald spot. The doctor examined it and palpated it, then spoke, "Young man, this isn't due to a pathological reason but external force.
We can't treat it here.
You'll have to wait until the hair follicles grow back before your hair can regrow." Disheartened, Xin Feng left and eventually found a barbershop, where he shaved his head bald. He then bought a few wigs to use as a temporary measure. Back at home, he engaged in cultivation and revisited the traditional Chinese medicine knowledge imparted by Lin Yutong. Subsequently, he delved into the alchemy section of his martial arts manual. Alchemy wasn't solely about concocting elixirs, it contained abundant botanical knowledge and corresponding treatment methods for various ailments. Xin Feng, unsure if he possessed a particular aptitude in this regard, found himself remembering everything upon reading, the impressions indelibly etched in his mind. The next morning, he headed to the Shadow Stream group.
Upon reaching the company's entrance, his phone rang. It was his second sister calling. "Little phone, today is the day for removing your stitches. Don't forget to come to the hospital." "Sis, it's unnecessary, I am already fine."
"I know the wound has healed, but the stitches are still inside."
"Get them removed as soon as possible."
"I'll be waiting for you at the hospital."
With that, Bai Muya hung up. Xin Feng sighed. Another trip to have his wounds checked by his second sister was in order. Chapter 54, Healing Li Hengdi.
Within the premises of the Shadow Stream group,
Li Hengdi's condition today was notably worse than yesterday.
Whereas he could manage a few words yesterday, today he couldn't even sit up. His complexion was pallid, and he appeared markedly thinner. Even the 2 carp tattoos on his arms seemed somewhat diminished.
"Boss."
Upon seeing Xin Feng enter, everyone in the room stood up and saluted. Xin Feng approached Li Hengdi, finding him with eyes tightly shut, body trembling slightly. He hastily grasped his wrist to check his pulse, his expression turning somewhat grave. The 3 severed meridians within his body were showing signs of atrophy.
Without prompt restoration, his life would be at risk. Ku Erba, have you prepared everything as instructed? Xin Feng called out. "It's all ready, boss," Zheng Ergo promptly responded, stepping forward.
"Quickly fill the golden cauldron with water and toss in the medicinal herbs. Boil them vigorously for an hour, then simmer over low heat," Xin Feng instructed, taking out silver needles in preparation for treatment.
Withdrawing a silver needle, he first pricked Li Hengdi's vital point to stimulate his vitality.
Then, he pierced the 3 severed meridians to prevent further atrophy.
His needling speed varied, sometimes as swift as lightning, other times as slow as a snail's pace.
Some needles penetrated the skin by 3 points, while others remained with only the tip exposed. Once all the needles were inserted, Xin Feng rotated each one slightly, infusing a thread of true energy.
Instantly, all the needles trembled, as if electrified. Yang Wei and the others watched in astonishment.
They had never witnessed such acupuncture techniques before. It was truly miraculous. After completing these actions, Xin Feng rested briefly before resuming the manipulation of the needles, infusing true energy. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead. This meticulous task consumed both energy and concentration, allowing no room for error. Gradually, under the stimulation of true energy and acupuncture, the 3 severed meridians within Li Hengdi's body began to regain vitality. "Boss, the medicine is ready," Zheng Ergu reported, 2 hours later. Xin Feng removed the silver needles from Li Hengdi's body, somewhat fatigued.
"Place him into the golden cauldron."
Yang Wei and the others hastily lifted Li Hengdi and carried him out. In another conference room, a large stove was placed on the floor, atop which rested the golden cauldron Xin Feng had obtained from Zhao Ryu.
Gurgling.
The medicinal concoction inside the golden cauldron bubbled incessantly, emitting a faint fragrance.
Yang Wei and the others placed Li Hengdi into the golden cauldron.
Instantly, Li Hengdi jolted awake, feeling the scalding heat. This was boiling medicine, after all. Even with his tough hide, he cried out in pain. He attempted to rise, but Xin Feng pressed down on his head, preventing him from doing so. Seeing himself immersed in boiling water, with ginseng, star anise, ginger, and angelica floating atop, the aroma wafting into his nostrils, Li Hengdi's heart skipped a beat.
Boiling water, floating ingredients, and this fragrance. Was he about to be cooked and eaten? Li Hangdi panicked. He cried out frantically, Master Qin, I have an elderly mother of 80 and a 3-year-old child. I can't die. Spare me, please. My flesh is tough and stinky, not delicious at all. Qin Feng was speechless. Damn, as expected, there wasn't a single sane person in the Hangdi gang. Yang Wei interjected, you fool. Who's going to eat you? Our boss is treating your injuries. With your rough physique, who would find your flesh appetizing? If anyone's being eaten, it would be the tender ones. Not eating me? Li Hangdi paused for a moment, then said, I may be uneducated, but don't deceive me. If you're not going to eat me, why boil me? And adding ginger and star anise is clearly to remove the gamey smell. Qin Feng felt a headache coming on, he simply couldn't communicate with this guy. Stop talking. You've severed the lesserine kidney meridian of the foot, the greater yang bladder meridian of the foot, and the hand yangming large intestine meridian. If you don't want to become effeminate in the future, shut your mouth. Concentrate on sensing your body. If you feel a thread of warmth entering your body, use your internal energy to guide it into these 3 severed meridians. Upon hearing Qin Feng's words, Li Hangdi immediately sealed his lips tightly. He didn't want to become effeminate, he was a man of integrity. Soon, he sensed the warmth Qin Feng mentioned without delay, he guided it towards the 3 severed meridians. Alright, you stay here and undergo treatment slowly. You're not allowed to leave without my permission, Qin Feng said, turning to leave. His sister was waiting for him. Wait a moment, Li Hangdi called out. What if I need to pee? Are you going to let me pee in here? I'll end up bathing in urine. Yang Wei and the others couldn't help but chuckle. This guy was truly simple-minded. Qin Feng retorted irritably, if you need to pee, come out. After you're done, you can go back in. Then he turned to Yang Wei and said, keep an eye on him. With that, he shook his head and left the Shadow Stream group. The reason for curing Li Hangdi, of course, was to recruit him for his own use. 1 month later, during the triad competition, Li Hangdi could also participate. But now, Qin Feng found Li Hangdi's intelligence truly frustrating. He wondered how this guy ever became the gang leader. People's Hospital of Jiangbei White Muya sat behind her desk, looking serious as she faced Irina and Erlin. Have you really thought this through? The twin sisters nodded, sounding somewhat despondent. We are not suitable to be doctors with our condition. But your father has always hoped that you would become excellent surgeons. Can you bear to disappoint him? White Muya persuaded. She knew how much hardship these 2 sisters had endured and how many obstacles they had overcome. But sometimes, effort didn't necessarily yield rewards. Resisting male anatomy was indeed exceedingly rare. So rare that there was no precedent for it in the world. Director White, we have made up our minds. We are truly not qualified to be doctors, Irina said. Seeing the determined expressions of the 2 sisters, White Muya stopped persuading and instead asked, have you decided what you want to do? Yes, we plan to study human anatomy art. Perhaps from a different perspective and with a different vision, we can overcome our condition. Additionally, we can sell our paintings on live streaming platforms to ease the burden on our family, Irina replied. Well, since you've made your decision, I won't try to persuade you anymore. I believe you will excel in the field of painting. White Muya stood up and approached, giving the 2 sisters a hug. Honestly, she felt a bit reluctant to part with this pair of sisters. They were sensible, obedient, and, most importantly, very beautiful. Looking at them always lifted her spirits. Sister, are you there? Just then, a knocking sounded at the door, followed by Qin Feng's voice drifting in. Chapter 55, Embarrassment. Upon hearing Qin Feng's voice, White Muya released the twin sisters and opened the door. Why are you coming now? Qin Feng chuckled. There was some traffic on the way, so I arrived late. Then he noticed Irina and Erlin and greeted them with a smile. You 2 are here too. The innocent faces of the 2 sisters instantly turned red as they couldn't help but recall the scene of cutting skin for Qin Feng. Director White, there's nothing urgent. We'll leave first, Irina said, feeling a bit embarrassed. Wait a moment. Since you're resigning tomorrow and still technically doctors today, why don't we remove Qin Feng's stitches together? It will be the perfect way to conclude your time as doctors, performing surgery on a male patient for the first time, White Muya suggested. Okay, the Irina sisters hesitated.
They wanted to refuse but ultimately nodded.
Then White Muya looked at Qin Feng and exclaimed, "Xiao Feng, why did you change your hairstyle?"
"I changed it for a change of mood," Qin Feng replied.
"Come here, let me touch it," White Muya beckoned.
She found Qin Feng's hairstyle particularly pleasing, resembling the Korean oppa style she liked, and wanted to feel it.
"Sis, isn't this inappropriate?"
"Men's heads, women's waists, you can't just touch them casually," Qin Feng said reluctantly. After all, he was wearing a wig, and he couldn't let people touch it casually.
"Hurry up. I'm your sister. What can I touch?" White Muya displayed a hint of dominance.
"Okay, but only for a moment," Qin Feng reluctantly agreed, walking over and lowering his head slightly. As White Muya reached out to touch it, she felt the wig was exceptionally soft and pleasant to the touch, unable to resist pinching it.
Qin Feng, seeing that White Muya had already touched his hair, immediately stepped back. However, White Muya didn't let go so quickly, she still held onto it. The next moment, the wig was pulled off. The air fell silent instantly. This was so embarrassing.
Irina and Erlin stared at Qin Feng's bald head in bewilderment. Suddenly, they remembered the scene of shaving Qin Feng's hair, and now he was bald all over. Both their faces turned red. Although they looked innocent, as medical students, their minds were quite dirty. While they hadn't had physical contact with men, they had heard plenty of dirty jokes. White Muya looked at the wig she had pulled off, then at Qin Feng's bald head, and exclaimed in shock, "Xiao Feng, why did you shave your head?" I did it to change my hairstyle. I can wear different wigs for different styles. It's convenient and fast," Qin Feng explained. Seeing that his wig had been exposed, he didn't bother to put it back on and just sat on the sofa. "Sis, I'm already fine. There's no wound or stitches. Can we skip the surgery? I'm really busy." "No, you're a doctor, or am I the doctor? Sewing threads on it, how could it not be removed?" Muya's tone was unquestionable. In the field of medicine, she never admitted defeat. Qin Feng, feeling helpless, could only say, "Then I'll show you now." "If it's as I described, can I leave?" Muya replied, "If it's really as you said, then of course you can leave." Then she said to Iron, "Close the door and lock it." The Iron sisters were startled to hear that Qin Feng was going to take off his pants here. This was not an operating room, and Qin Feng wasn't wearing hospital clothes. It was difficult for them to envision themselves in the role of doctors. But Muya didn't have such reservations. She took out 3 pairs of rubber gloves from the drawer and handed them to Iron and Erlin, saying, "Put these on and disinfect." Then she looked at Qin Feng and said, "Take them off." Now Qin Feng felt somewhat uncomfortable. He felt something was off. As a grown man, taking off his pants in front of 3 beautiful women felt suspiciously like acting indecent. "Sister, my dear sister, I'm really fine. There's no need to remove the stitches. Why don't you believe me?" Qin Feng hesitated to let go of his pants. Muya glanced at him and said, "Seeing you like this, I can tell you're feeling guilty enough. Let's not talk about it. Just go directly to the operating room to have the stitches removed." After saying that, she moved to remove the rubber gloves. "Damn it, let's just do it," Qin Feng muttered to himself. With a sudden grit of his teeth, he seemed to face death with resignation. Muya immediately squatted down. The next moment, she was completely astonished. It was indeed intact. There was no trace of surgery, not even the stitches were visible. She was as if she had discovered a new continent and quickly called the twin sisters, "Come and see, this is simply a miracle." At first, Iron and Erlin were a bit embarrassed, but soon they got into their roles, donned the rubber gloves, and inspected closely. This time Qin Feng wasn't given anesthesia. As he watched the 3 women repeatedly inspecting, he gradually had some reactions. Plus, with 3 charming lips so close, some wicked thoughts arose in his mind, but the next moment, Muya's words made him shrink. "Such a miraculous thing, should we take a biopsy and study it?" Qin Feng quickly pulled up his pants and stepped back, exclaiming, "Sister, I'm your brother. You actually want to biopsy me?" Muya also realized her words were inappropriate. She stood up and said, "Just kidding with you. You're my little brother, how could I bear to biopsy you? Alright, since you're already fine, there's no need to remove the stitches." She glanced at the Iron sisters again. "Your final surgery is also completed. You can go and hand over now. Come back tomorrow to process your resignation."
Xin Feng asked in surprise, are you all quitting being doctors? Iron blushed and nodded. We still have resistance to male bodies. But you don't resist me anymore, do you?
We don't know why, but we indeed have no resistance to you. But when we see other men's bodies, we still can't help but feel disgusted and nauseous.
Erland said pitifully. Oh, Mr. Xin, we're planning to do live sales. You must come and support us when the time comes.
Iron smiled and gave Xin Feng the platform and live broadcast ID, then bid farewell with Erland and left.
Sister, then I'll leave first.
Xin Feng took the wig and put it back on himself.
Just as he walked out of the hospital, the phone rang.
It was an unfamiliar number, and Xin Feng pondered for a moment before answering.
Hey handsome, remember me?
A somewhat coquettish voice came from the phone.
Who are you?
Xin Feng felt the voice was somewhat familiar but couldn't quite place it.
I'm Nana. Remember, last time at Zhao Ritian's villa, you gave me your WeChat ID, right? I didn't expect your WeChat ID as your phone number. Xin Feng remembered.
He found it strange.
What does this woman want with him? Could it be she wants to book a room with him? Chapter 56, I'm not that kind of person. Do you need something from me?
Xin Feng inquired. Yeah, I'd like to invite you to dinner, to talk about life, and discuss ideals, Nana said deliberately, making her voice sound somewhat flirtatious.
She knew many men like Sister Jilin's voice.
Though she wasn't sure if Xin Feng had such a preference, starting off a bit flirtatious could certainly work wonders. Xin Feng shivered at the sound. Even through the phone, he could sense Nana's seductive aura. Just as he was about to hang up, he remembered he promised to introduce a girl to Chen Pengfei. Nana seemed like a seasoned player, and Chen Pengfei was a bit of a recluse. He could learn a thing or two from her. Of course, a relationship was out of the question.
With someone like Nana, even Chen Pengfei wouldn't be able to handle it.
He could just serve as a life mentor. Moreover, he had seen the girls in Chen Pengfei's hard drive. He noticed he liked the type Nana represented, so he decided to test the waters first, at least get the price clear. Later, he would bring Chen Pengfei to end his virginity. Chen Pengfei had helped him, he ought to thank him properly.
Alright, where are you?
I'll come to find you, Xin Feng agreed. Nana on the other end was delighted. She hadn't expected Xin Feng to agree so readily. After giving an address, she turned to Bingbing and Rongrong and said,
That guy will be here soon. Let's seize the opportunity this time.
I can tell he's not just wealthy.
Don't mess it up, you two. Is Hao Gu all set?
Bingbing nodded, then said, That guy looks quite handsome, much better than many I've seen.
Why don't we just play along for real?
Rongrong, with eager eyes, also nodded, Yes, handsome men like him are hard to come by these days.
I haven't seen one in a long time. Let's catch him before deciding. Nana was also tempted. Truth be told, she had been eyeing Xin Feng for a while. However, she was a bit worried about upsetting Hao Gu.
Hesitantly, she said, We haven't paid Hao Gu in a long time.
If we don't pay this time, you know the consequences. If we get exhausted, we won't be able to inform Hao Gu. Bingbing chuckled, Nana, you can rest assured. Can a young man in his 20s exhaust us? There are 3 of us, not to mention my skills are unparalleled. We'll make him lose his mind quickly. Exactly. It'll be him with weak knees, not us. Relax, Rongrong chimed in. Alright then.
Let's not put drugs in his drink later. I'll go first, Bingbing second, Rongrong third. Nana finally relented, placing herself first. Bingbing and Rongrong had no objections.
It didn't matter who went first.
Soon, Xin Feng arrived in his Santana. The 3 women were dumbfounded.
Where was the Porsche 918?
Nevertheless, they decided to stick to the plan.
Hey handsome, you finally made it.
We've been waiting for you for a while, Nana said. Xin Feng was a bit surprised.
He hadn't expected all 3 women to be there. Looking at the way they were eyeing him, could it be? Today, all 3 women were wearing kipeos, accentuating their figures. Their fair thighs were partially revealed, causing men around to constantly swallow their saliva. The 4 entered a hot pot restaurant and started eating. Hey, what's your surname, handsome? What do you do? Nana asked.
My surname is Qin, and I'm an unemployed vagabond, Xin Feng chuckled.
Who are you trying to fool? An unemployed vagabond can't drive a Porsche 918. By the way, why didn't you bring your supercar today? Nana coquettishly asked. Hee, I lent the sports car to a friend, Sheen Fong lied casually. Oh my, mister. Sheen's friend is truly lucky. I wonder if we'll have the fortune to become friends with Mr. Sheen?
Bing Bing moved a bit closer to Sheen Fong, using her body to brush against his arm.
Seeing this, Rong Rong couldn't be left behind.
She also brushed against him and giggled. We're sure to become good friends. We can come out to talk about life and ideals whenever we want.
Meanwhile, Nana kept urging Sheen Fong to drink.
Surprisingly, Sheen Fong quite enjoyed himself. Regardless of what these three women did, just their looks and figures alone surpassed 90% of women. This alone drew envious and jealous looks from other men in the hot pot restaurant. Furthermore, with Bing Bing and Rong Rong leaning so close, it was almost as if they were hanging on Sheen Fong. Two arms, wrapped in softness, it was an indescribable comfort.
All right, mister. Sheen has had quite a bit to drink. Let's take him to the hotel to rest, Nana said.
As the time drew near, Nana instructed the other two to support Sheen Fong, and the four of them went to the hotel next door. Sheen Feng's body was feeling a bit hot at this moment. Over the years, he hadn't actually experienced that kind of thing.
Now, all of a sudden, 3 women at once? Was it really happening like this for the first time? He felt both a bit eager and resistant eager because, of course, he desired to experience the pleasures of a woman. Yet, resistant because these 3 weren't the ones he liked. If he engaged in such relations purely out of his own desires, wouldn't it be akin to behaving like an animal? Moreover, if his sisters found out about this, they would probably sever ties with him. Just as he hesitated, the 4 of them had already entered the room. Sheen Fong was directly pushed onto the bed, while Nana straddled him and began to slowly undress. No, I can't do this.
In an instant, Sheen Fong finally made up his mind.
He pushed Nana away and stood up, saying, I'm sorry, I'm not the kind of person you think I am. Nana? Bing Bing? Wrong? Damn it, I've already taken off my pants, and now you're telling me you're not that kind of person? Are you kidding me?
The 3 women also got annoyed after exchanging a glance with each other. Nana and Bing Bing approached, while Rong Rong left the room to make a phone call.
Mr. Sheen, no need to be so nervous. You won't be responsible for anything.
It's just for fun, and we're very skilled, Bing Bing said, reaching out to touch Sheen Feng's body. Sheen Fong pushed her hand away and stood up, saying, I really am not that kind of person.
Maybe there's been a misunderstanding. I'm sorry, I'm leaving. You can't leave. Nana suddenly shouted, then proceeded to tear her own clothes, while Bing Bing messed up her hair and tore her clothes, sitting on the ground and loudly declaring, You've insulted us and now you want to leave?
There's no such cheap deal in the world.
Sheen Fong was utterly baffled.
Damn it, I didn't even touch you, it's you who tore your own clothes. Suddenly, it dawned on him. Looking at Nana and Bing Bing sitting on the ground, he smirked.
So, you want to play the victim here, huh? Fine, I'll play along until the end. Chapter 57, Leap of the Immortal.
Sheen Fong not only remained, but also settled at the edge of the bed, daring to engage in the game of Leap of the Immortal with him.
He was curious to see who had such audacity. Now, the underground world of Jiangbei was in chaos, with all sorts of characters emerging.
Nana and Bing Bing, realizing that Sheen Fong had seen through their tricks, not only stayed but also sat down, waiting for Hauge.
Their hearts couldn't help but tighten. Could this fellow have some immense background? If they messed up, Hauge wouldn't let them off easily. Before long, a clamor arose outside, followed by the opening of the door. A group of people entered, with a burly man wearing a large gold chain leading the way, bellowing as soon as he entered the room, daring to mess with my sister. Hauge's patience is wearing thin. Kid, are you intending to go public or settle this privately? Sheen Fong replied, What if I go public? And what if I settle privately? Going public, then we'll call the police. You engaging in solicitation in this hotel, and with 3 women at once, will definitely result in fines and a period of detention. Settling privately, you give me 100,000 yuan, and we'll let this matter slide. 100,000? You dare to ask for that much, Sheen Fong sneered. Kid, my sister has top-notch looks and figure. You engaged with 3 of them at once, 100,000 is still too little. How about this, you make your choice. Hauge proudly declared. He was sure Qin Feng would choose to settle privately. Wealthy people usually cared about face and wouldn't want the police catching them soliciting, but then Qin Feng said, then go ahead and call the police. Since we're playing Leap of the Immortal together, I'm curious to see how the police handle it. Besides, I haven't touched any of these three, so it doesn't count as solicitation. Qin Feng's words left Hauge dumbfounded. Despite playing Leap of the Immortal for so many years, this was the first time someone made him want to call the police. His expression turned fierce in an instant as he barked, "Kid, I'm giving you a chance, but you're not taking it. Now, 100,000 won't solve the problem. Give me 200,000, or else you won't leave this room today." Getting impatient so quickly? Qin Feng chuckled lightly, then disdainfully glanced at the three young men behind Hauge. "With you bunch of misfits, you think you can stop me? Damn it, get him." Hauge was furious. How dare Qin Feng call him, Zhou Shang Hauge, a bunch of misfits? He prided himself as the leader of the fifth largest gang in Jiangbei. Being mocked like this by a young man, and in front of Nana and the others, instantly enraged him. The three young men behind him, upon hearing his command, moved forward to attack. But as they approached, Qin Feng waved his hand, and they collapsed to the ground, noses bleeding, unable to get up. Hauge was stunned, as were Nana, Bing Bing, and Rong Rong. They hadn't expected Qin Feng to be this formidable. They couldn't even see how Qin Feng had acted, and the three lackeys who followed were already down. "You don't act rashly. I warn you, don't act rashly. Behind me is a true master of the innate realm. If you dare to harm me, he won't let you off." Zhou Shang Hauge retreated in fear, his voice trembling slightly, showing typical cowardice in the face of strength. Damn it, he had kicked the iron board today. How could he encounter such a formidable person? Qin Feng became interested. "You have a master of the innate realm behind you? Take me to see him. I want to see if there really is a master of the innate realm in Jiangbei." Alright, I'll take you." Zhou Shang Hauge nodded vigorously. Only by bringing out his master could he deal with such a fierce person. The two left the hotel, while Nana, Bing Bing, and Rong Rong dared not flee and obediently followed behind. Today's incident had messed up badly, and they didn't know how Zhou Shang Hauge would punish them. Just thinking about the fate of one of their sisters before made all three shiver with fear. One can only hope that the master behind Zhou Shang Hauge can capture Qin Feng, making him cough up the money. Perhaps this could also compensate for this mistake. They boarded the car and drove around for over half an hour, arriving at a warehouse in the outskirts. Zhou Shang Hauge cautiously said, "The master of the innate realm is inside." "Let's go in," Qin Feng instructed. Qin Feng had Zhou Shang Hauge open the warehouse, and they entered with caution. Inside, the warehouse was brightly lit, with several people sitting at tables playing cards. Upon seeing Zhou Shang Hauge enter, they all bowed. "Hauge." Zhou Shang Hauge took a step forward and then turned to face Qin Feng with a malicious grin. "Kid, there's a road to heaven, yet you choose to barge into hell. You dared to come to my territory. Even if you know a bit of martial arts, can you possibly defeat so many of us?" Qin Feng replied calmly, "So, you were lying to me about the master of the innate realm? To deal with you, my lackeys here are enough." "There's no need for my uncle to intervene," Zhou Shang Hauge said arrogantly. Then, he waved his hand and ordered, "Brothers, disable this kid for me." More than 10 people immediately pulled out knives, iron rods, and other weapons from under the tables, charging towards Qin Feng. Nana and the others screamed, hiding to the side, closing their eyes, unable to bear the sight of blood. Qin Feng shook his head. When these people came within 10 meters, he flicked his fingers. In no time, more than 10 lackeys knelt before him, unable to stand up as their legs were immobilized by his internal energy. "What the hell? Why are you idiots kneeling? Get up and deal with him." Zhou Shang Hauge was bewildered, not understanding why his lackeys were kneeling before Qin Feng, and he was furious. "Boss, we don't know what hit our nerve channels. Our legs are numb, we can't stand up," one lackey said with a mournful face. Zhou Shang Hauge, hearing this, finally looked at Qin Feng with a hint of fear. He had thought that in the small space of the hotel room, his 3 lackeys couldn't fully display their skills, so they were subdued by Qin Feng. But now, even with more than 10 lackeys on his own turf, he couldn't do anything. He didn't even know how Qin Feng had affected these lackeys' nerve channels. Qin Feng had been standing still. "Now, can I go summon that so-called master of the innate realm?" Qin Feng spoke up in the midst of the silence.
Zhou Shanghao shivered, hastily saying, yes, I haven't lost yet. I still have the master of the innate realm. With that, he rushed upstairs, shouting loudly, Uncle, quickly come and save me.
Someone is causing trouble.
As Zhou Shanghao's words fell, a door on the second floor suddenly opened, and a man wearing a grey cloth robe and sunglasses, slightly thin, with an air of a Taoist immortal, stepped out. As soon as he appeared, he said, friends from afar, welcome.
How delightful.
Qin Feng furrowed his brows.
This old man sure knew how to put on airs. Wearing sunglasses at night, trying to look cool? And quoting Confucius as soon as he opened his mouth, was he trying to display his erudition in front of Qin Feng? Chapter 58, Cockfighting Stance. Foes of Dalmatia, no matter how far, shall be punished.
Qin Feng boldly quoted this line. Although he wasn't well versed in literary quotations, however, he had heard the Prince of Dalmatia say it while playing League of Legends and found it impressive, so he remembered it.
Never did he expect to use it now. Come at me with your culture. I dare you.
Apart from this, I also have, with 1,000 troops and horses, one general stands tall, obtaining what you seek is effortless. On the day of reforging a broken sword, and when the night returns.
Death is like the wind, always by my side. Now it was the turn for the sunglasses-wearing elder to be baffled.
He had only heard, foes of the strong Han, no matter how far, shall be punished.
What in the world was Dalmatia? Dalmatia Express? Was this a delivery guy?
He wanted to say something to salvage his dignity but found his mind blank. He had no retort to Qin Feng's words and could only give up.
Who are you?
Why intrude here at night? The elder questioned sternly. Your lackeys and these girls over here played Leap of the Immortal together and extorted 100,000 yuan from me. So, I've come to see who's backing them up, Qin Feng said, pointing at Nana, Bing Bing, and Rong Rong trembling on the side.
The sunglasses-wearing elder turned around, asking, Hauga, is this true?
Uncle, you mustn't believe this kid's nonsense.
Everything I, Zhou Shanghao, do is above board. How could I be involved in such schemes?
This kid forced me here, claiming he wanted to meet the master of the innate realm and even injured more than 10 of my brothers. Uncle, please intercede for me, Zhou Shanghao said, quite the convincing performance. Even he started to believe himself. The sunglasses-wearing elder furrowed his brows and said in a deep voice, since someone is causing trouble, I naturally must stand up for you. With that, he stood with hands behind his back, leapt from the second floor, and landed gracefully on the first floor railing before floating down. With his clothes fluttering and his silver hair, coupled with the sunglasses, his style was off the charts.
Uncle, be careful.
The tables below haven't been moved, Zhou Shanghao shouted, but it was too late.
Clang.
The sunglasses-wearing elder crashed into a wooden table, falling awkwardly. The grandeur he had just exuded vanished instantly. Qin Feng was speechless.
Couldn't he see the large table below? Could it be that he was blind?
Qin Feng thought it was possible, otherwise, why would he wear sunglasses at night?
Uncle, are you all right?
Zhou Shanghao leaned over the railing, shouting loudly. Cough, cough, the sunglasses-wearing elder stood up, coughed a couple of times to ease the embarrassment, and said solemnly, people make mistakes, and horses stumble. I am fine.
Then, he looked at Qin Feng.
Let me advise you, spare others and they will spare you. If you leave now, I can overlook the matter of you injuring them.
Qin Feng chuckled, what if I don't leave? The sunglasses-wearing elder stood tall with his hands behind his back again. Then don't blame me for bullying the young. That sounds about right.
I'm curious to see what you're capable of, Qin Feng smiled. Through his observation technique, he discovered that this elder was indeed at the pulse connection realm, and at its peak. He had opened all 12 meridians, even more than Qin Feng himself. However, his vitality was extremely weak, as if he had just recovered from a serious illness. This resulted in his qi not being robust, not even half as strong as Qin Feng's. Naturally, Qin Feng wasn't afraid of him.
Cough, cough. The sunglasses-wearing elder coughed twice again. So be it.
Watch closely. Then, he slowly reached for the sunglasses on his face. With this movement, his entire demeanor changed.
From ethereal and refined, he became somewhat fierce. The sunglasses-wearing elder also sensed it.
The young man opposite him was also an innate expert, forcing him to be on full alert. Feeling the change in the elder's aura, Qin Feng's expression became solemn. Although the opponent's qi intensity was inferior to his own, his age and the fact that he had opened all his meridians indicated he likely had rich combat experience.
He couldn't underestimate his opponent.
The lesson from the Zhao brothers was still fresh in his mind. Believing that someone who had only opened one meridian wasn't his match, he ended up losing some hair. He took a deep breath, activated his techniques, and circulated his qi in his dantian before spreading it throughout his body, preparing himself for the confrontation.
Humph!
The sunglasses-wearing elder shouted and removed his sunglasses, then looked at Qin Feng. The moment Qin Feng saw the elder's eyes, he was stunned. In his mind, 10,000 grassmud horses galloped past.
The sunglasses-wearing elder turned out to have cockfighting eyes. This was too absurd.
An innate expert who had opened all 12 meridians had cockfighting eyes.
No wonder he crashed into the table. With eyes like that, everything would appear double. The ethereal and refined appearance of the sunglasses-wearing elder was completely ruined in that instant. But at that moment, Qin Feng suddenly felt dizzy. Then, his two eyes involuntarily moved towards the bridge of his nose. His vision also became blurry, and his head felt dizzy. Damn it! Qin Feng cursed, shocked. Cockfighting eyes could actually affect him? What kind of bizarre technique was this? He urgently circulated his qi to try to restore his eyes to normal, but found that the acupoints around his eyes were blocked by two streams of foreign qi, preventing his qi from passing through. Soon, Qin Feng became a victim of cockfighting eyes too. At this moment, the sunglasses-wearing elder shouted again, cockfighting stance. Qin Feng's whole body trembled.
His right foot bent uncontrollably, lifted and rested on his left thigh, while his hands held onto his right foot. Then, his left foot started hopping, forming the posture of a cockfight.
Qin Feng was dumbfounded. Seriously, wasn't this the cockfighting stance he used to play as a child?
It could actually be integrated into martial arts.
Indeed, the world was full of wonders. However, it was embarrassing for a grown man like him to do this posture. He burst out with a loud shout, and his qi surged throughout his body, clearing his meridians. Pop, pop, pop.
Sounds like bubbles bursting echoed, and Qin Feng finally regained control of his limbs and returned to his normal posture under the continuous impact. His eyes also broke through the blockade and returned to normal. He took a deep breath, feeling the terrifying nature of this technique. It could control both his eyes and body. If someone attacked him while he was under control, he probably wouldn't be able to avoid it. He looked at the sunglasses-wearing elder with a serious expression. I concede. At this moment, the sunglasses-wearing elder put his sunglasses back on, covering his cockfighting eyes, and blood trickled down from the corner of his mouth. In the clash just now, he was clearly at a disadvantage and suffered some internal injuries. Zhou Shanghaoge couldn't help but shiver. Even his uncle wasn't a match for this kid. He might be doomed today. Chapter 59, The 12 Zodiac Combat Technique. Witnessing the elder in sunglasses voluntarily conceding, Qin Feng did not find it surprising. In the clash of true qi just now, he had exerted his full strength, which should have damaged the opponent's meridians. However, he became deeply interested in the elder's techniques. Smiling, he inquired, Youngster Qin Feng, may I inquire about the distinguished name of the senior? The senior does not need to be so modest. Learning knows no bounds, and those who achieve are considered first. With Mr. Qin's profound true qi, this old man cannot bear the title of senior. The elder in sunglasses waved his hand and continued, my surname is Wei, named Zhuanji. I am the elder brother of Zhou Xinghao. I kindly ask Mr. Qin to spare him some leniency on account of my thin face. Pseudo-gentleman? Qin Feng looked puzzled. What a bizarre name, but he didn't delve deeper, as he had heard plenty of peculiar names during this time. Wei Lao, I wonder what technique you just displayed it had such a miraculous effect. If my true qi hadn't been strong, I'm afraid I would have lost today. Qin Feng walked over and sat on a chair. Upon hearing Qin Feng's praise for his technique, Wei Juanji's old face revealed a smile. His posture seemed to straighten, restoring the image of a noble and wise expert. He stroked the goat's beard on his chin and said, this technique of mine is a family heirloom, named the 12 Zodiac Combat Technique. Each pair of meridians can practice one of the 12 combat techniques of the zodiac. When all 12 main meridians and 8 extraordinary meridians are open, it forms a complete set of combat techniques, making one almost invincible in the qi refining realm. I had already opened all the meridians and learned all the combat techniques, but unfortunately, 30 years ago, I fought with a condensing liquid realm expert and was severely injured. As a result, 20 of my meridians withered. Although true chi can still circulate within them, it is not enough to support the use of the combat techniques. Only the meridians of this rooster combat technique remained uninjured and functional.
Xin Feng nodded, gaining some understanding. He glanced at Wei Lao's sunglasses and asked curiously, "What about your eyes then?"
"I brought this upon myself. After the other 20 meridians were injured, I practiced the rooster combat technique day and night, thinking that I could seek revenge when I encountered that person again. However, I didn't realize that practicing only one combat technique would have side effects, especially for the rooster combat technique, which has greater side effects. I didn't know at first, but later I gradually discovered it. It was very difficult to reverse the situation, so I just continued to practice to the end. Unexpectedly, although my eyes turned into rooster eyes, I could also control my opponent's eyes through true chi to turn them into rooster eyes. In this way, the opponent's vision becomes blurred, and if I attack again, they cannot avoid it."
Mr. Xin, you are indeed the first person to break through my rooster combat technique in so many years. Truly, heroes emerge among the young. Wei Lao sighed.
Xin Feng smiled, knowing he had extraordinary experiences. The chaotic rising dragon technique was far more powerful than this 12 zodiac combat technique of yours. Even if you mastered all combat techniques, you might not be a match for yourself. Of course, Xin Feng appeared modest on the surface, shaking his head and saying a few words of praise. Then he said, "Wei Lao, if I can heal the withered meridians in your body, will you follow me in the future?" Wei Juanji was stunned, turned to look at Xin Feng, and said solemnly, "Can you heal me?" "I can only say I'll give it a try." Wei Juanji let out a sigh of relief and fell silent for a moment. "As long as you can heal me, my life will be yours." "Good, I'll check your pulse for you now," Xin Feng said, placing his right hand on Wei Juanji's wrist. After careful examination, he smiled and said, "The internal injuries of your meridians are not difficult to treat. I can heal you right away." Upon hearing this, Wei Juanji suddenly stood up, his body trembling, and his voice trembling. "Mr. Xin, what you said, is it true?" "Certainly, please remove your clothes, and I will administer acupuncture immediately," Xin Feng said, but he was taken aback to find Wei Juanji had already stripped naked. He was somewhat astonished. So quick? He must have practiced specifically for this. Taking out the acupuncture needles, Xin Feng began the treatment. The injuries in Wei Juanji's body were not difficult. Some clots blocked the meridians that were injured, causing the blood flow to be obstructed. Over time, it led to both qi and blood deficiency, gradually withering away. After just a few minutes, Wei Juanji's body was filled with needles. Xin Feng similarly manipulated the needles, injecting true qi to break the clots within the meridians. Then, he forcefully slapped Wei Juanji's back. Wow! Wei Juanji forcefully spat out a mouthful of black blood, mixed with some clots. "How do you feel now?" Xin Feng asked. Wei Juanji tried circulating his true qi and was pleasantly surprised. Tears even welled up under his sunglasses. The problem that had plagued him for 30 years had been easily resolved by Xin Feng. Putting on his clothes, he stood up and respectfully bowed to Xin Feng. "Mr. Xin, you are my rebirth parents. From now on, my life belongs to you." Very well, very well. Can you now display other combat techniques?" Xin Feng asked. "I'll try," Wei Juanji said, starting to activate his techniques. However, he quickly stopped, his face showing a strange expression. "What's wrong?" Xin Feng also stood up. "Nothing, I'll try again." Wei Juanji attempted to activate his techniques once more, but like the previous attempt, he stopped quickly, and drops of cold sweat dripped down his face. Xin Feng frowned but remained silent. After a while, Wei Juanji dejectedly said, "I'm afraid I won't be able to use other combat techniques from now on." "Why is that? Have you forgotten?" Xin Feng wondered. How could he forget the techniques he had practiced? It was something ingrained deep in his bones. Even after 30 years, he should still remember. "I haven't forgotten entirely," Wei Juanji shook his head, "but whenever I try to activate other techniques, I involuntarily switch to the rooster combat technique. No matter how hard I try to overcome it, I can't control it. It always switches." Xin Feng was speechless. Truly ingrained deep in his bones. In that case, your rooster eyes can't be healed either. Xin Feng realized a problem.
Wei Juanji nodded heavily, realizing he would have to wear these sunglasses for the rest of his life. Actually, it's not bad at all.
With all your meridians open now and simultaneously activating the rooster combat technique in all 22 meridians, the power must be much greater than before. You might even be stronger than me. Qin Feng patted Wei Juanji's shoulder, comforting him.
Mr. Qin is right. I now have a strong feeling that as long as I take off my glasses and look at someone, they will turn into rooster eyes without even needing to use true qi, Wei Juanji said, leaving Qin Feng slightly stunned. How impressive is that? In the future, when fighting Wei Juanji, would he have to keep his eyes closed?